Hello, hello, hello. Who's there? Anyone? Ooh, over here. Come over here. This is an impromptu live. I got bored, so I thought I haven't done a video today. Let's do some lives or a live. So I didn't do any advertising. I'm just hoping that some of you are out there and want to have a chat. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Come on, who's first in the building? Peter. Hello, Peter. Fat Dave Allen seems disinterested, doesn't he? Just was it 264, 265? Am I right in saying that's the heaviest ever for Dave? Guy's got talent, you know. No good, no good. You know, if you got talent, you got to use it. You know what I mean? Hayne Lane. Hey, gorgeous. My name's Hannah. Hello, Hannah. Welcome to the show. What do you think of Dave Allen, Hannah? Do you think he's too fat? It's going to be Johnny Fisher on point, says Peter. Yeah, I think so. That was my prediction in my prediction video. Yeah, Johnny Fisher on points, and I see no reason to change my opinion. I mean, if Dave had come in at 245, I'd be thinking, yeah, right. How have you been, says Hayne Lane. Hannah, I have been very well, thank you. I hope the same applies to you. Are we all looking forward to the weekend? I hope we are. Seems he hasn't taken it seriously. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's what we were saying. Bruce Gass. Hey, Bruce. How you doing, Brucey? Still loving your work, mate. Loving your work. And Reese Cooper's here. How's it going, Joe? I'm well, Reese. Thank you very much, sir. Big up Bruce Gass. Big up Reese. Big up all of you. I'm glad some of you are as bored on a Friday evening as I am that you decided to come over. I've only ever done one live before, and it went on for like nearly 3 hours. And I looked at the clock. I thought, that can't be right. Because it seemed like about 90 minutes maybe, but you get into the swing of things and there you go. Your captain speaking, man. Hope you're well, Joe. I'm very well, thank you. Yes, very well, Captain. Thank you very much. Adari Pennant, Moses Tama versus Jaya Patai would be a good future fight. Yeah. Well, is Jai going to move to heavyweight? If I was him, I'd stick to, at the moment, I'd stick to unifying cruiserweight, which he's perfectly capable of doing. But yeah, Atama and Apataya in the future, you never know. Oh, who we got? Mad Lad MMA. Mad Lad MMA. Fisher is going to take this fight a bit more calculated and cautious, convincing points win. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. I think a lot of people are saying that. Reese Cooper managed to stomach about 2 minutes of the Misfits. They had a fatal four-way fight going on. No, you're joking, yeah. What a load of crap. I can't be doing all that stuff. And you think the Sauerlands are involved in that rubbish when previously they were doing that magnificent World Boxing Super Series thing, which was brilliant. You know, Josh Taylor won it, Inoue won it, Usyk won it, and then now they're doing Misfits. What a load of old bollocks. Did you see Dillian White recently? Looks like he's in mental and cognitive decline. Do you know what, Peter? I noticed that. I thought, is he slurring his words? Am I imagining this? But when your punch resistance goes, that's a good sign that your cognitive ability is declining. So yeah. I just want the truth, says Fancy Fight. Mike McCallum or Gerald McClellan. What a great fight. Well, the finest fighter I've ever seen in the flesh, sat ringside for, was Mike McCallum. Whereas McClellan is one of the most ferocious. Again, with anyone with McClellan, if you get through the early rounds, you've got a chance. I would say if McCallum can survive the first 3 rounds, he wins the fight. but McClellan early on was a demon, an absolute demon. Dean Walsh, Big Joe, keep doing what you're doing, lad. Thank you very much, Dean. I will, mate. I will. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. Reese says some lad about got KO'd, then was back in the ring around later. What, and on Misfits? Was that in England or was it in America, this Misfits thing? That's obviously not under the jurisdiction of the board, and that's extremely dangerous. You get concussed if it was a genuine KO. Well, if it wasn't some sort of, WWE thing, if it was a genuine fight and he was KO'd, he's obviously concussed and he should be taken to hospital. Adari Pennant also. Who have you put down there, mate? Molodjanov versus Moses Tarma. Oh, Lazarbeck Molodjanov. You got me on that one, mate. No, you got me on that one. I'll have to look him up. John Trounson. Evening, folks. Hello, John. Thanks for coming along, mate. Paul Daniels. Will Eubank call out Canelo for being a drug cheat? Yeah, good question. Well, more to the point, Eubank Jr. is absolutely relentless about Conor Benn's PED peccadillos. But did he say anything about Roy Jones Jr., who failed a test when he was training him? That's been pointed out by several other people, and it's well worth noting. JD05. Evening, Joe Stunner. Hello, JD. Nice one, mate. Dean Walsh, bring back Frank Bruno. I saw Frank Bruno do one of his, evenings with Frank Bruno where he answered questions about his career. It was really good. Really good. Nice guy, Frank. Well, we know that anyway, don't we? Reset. It's in Derby. Absolute shit show. Yeah, I can believe it, mate. Derby. Okay. Kazul88. Joe, what's your favourite ever fight in terms of pure skill of both fighters? Pure skill? I mean, my favourite fight of all time, it's not because of the skill, was Ben versus McClellan, but in terms of skill, I'll tell you what, I don't know whether it's my favourite fight, but the two Bivol Beterbiev fights, I love them for terms of that perfect blend of skill and action. Yeah, great stuff. So if I think of any others, I'll mention them. Peter asks, Fury versus AJ incoming, 5 years too late. Typical Fury bullshit. I've lost interest, Peter. I'm not interested in that fight. I'll watch it, of course I will, as we all will. It might even be a good fight because you get two guys who are past it and it's still a good fight, but no. Ian Watson. Do you think Dave Allen is serious about this fight? Not if his weight's anything to go by. No, I expect him to lose, mate. The 286 Project. Hi, Joe. Hello, 286 Project. Inside the Distance. Lee, how are you doing, my friend? Evening to you as well. JD. Joe, did you train boxing in your youth? Yeah, I messed around, but that's as far as as much credit as I'm going to give myself credit for. Went to the gym, messed around, owned a pair of gloves, owned the gear, went there sometimes. Last year, I went to my old gym, actually. It used to be a big wooden shack on an estate called New Greens Estate, which was actually in St Albans, not in London, because my grandparents were from St Albans. So I lived there, and I stayed with them at the weekends, and I would go there. And they've actually moved it. They've actually upped it 40 years later to a stone. I think they've taken over a couple of houses and made them into like one gym. Yeah, I just messed around, mate. It's one of my regrets. Wish I'd made more of an effort. But I'll go into sort of music, and the thing about playing music is you don't get hit in the face. So, but then I do regret not taking it more serious. Lee says, inside distance, keep this live quiet. Yeah, it was an off the cuff thing, mate. Spur of the moment. I thought, what the hell? But I'm glad you're here, Lee. You're always welcome, mate. You know you are, mate. One of my absolute favourite channels, Lee's Inside the Distance. Go and give him a sub. If you like this channel, you'll definitely like Lee's. I just want the truth. What fights would you like to see on Usyk versus Dubois 2 undercard? That's a good question. Oh, that is a good question. I wouldn't mind seeing Parker either against Caballel or Parker and Caballel against relevant opponents, because I think Caballel and Parker are the two fighters that deserve the winner of Usyk versus Dubois 2. Who would you put them in against? I don't know, but why not make it a heavyweight event? Am I right in saying Sanchez has got Hergovic? Or am I did I imagine that? I mean, I don't see why Uncle Frank can't pull some of his heavyweights on there. You know, maybe if that silly fat bastard Jarrell Miller is fit. Oh, he wouldn't be for that. He wouldn't be fit in time for that, would he? Well, he might be. He might be. Put him in against, I don't fucking know, a Coley or Coley versus Adelaide, maybe. I mean, I'm only putting these names out of my head, but you might as well make that a heavyweight event. You know, I quite like that idea. Marvin, hey Joe, great channel. Thank you, Marvin. Much appreciated, mate. JD05, Frank Bruno has a unique voice, doesn't he? Yeah, the big booming Frank Bruno voice. If you are old enough to remember Frank when he was coming through and working his way through all those title shots and finally winning the WBC belt, that big laugh of his was legendary. And he had a sort of double act going with Harry Carpenter, the now deceased but very famous British commentator, who was really a real gentleman. Harry Carpenter, a real gentleman, as was Frank. And people forget this, but at the time, like Frank, there was still a lot of racism around. Like, for example, there was a lot of racism surrounding the Errol Christie Mark Kaler fight. I remember that well, 85, I think it was. And before that, you had the way Hagler was treated when he smashed up Minter. A lot of racism around. And for Harry Carpenter and Frank Bruno to be a little double act. And Harry actually said publicly, he said, Frank Bruno is a gentleman. If my daughter brought him home, I'd be a very proud man. I mean, Harry was all right. Those were dark days. But people like Harry Carpenter and Frank Bruno made it. And some of the black professional footballers made it a better world, I think. A more tolerant world. Casual 88, good shout outs. Barrera Morales was high level action. Yes, good one. Yes, all three of those fights were good. Yes, I agree with you. The first one was amazing. That's from Casual 88. Yeah, you're right, mate. Barrera Morales, perfect blend of skill and power and all the rest of it. Slugging with finesse. We've got NSDB 100. Evening, Joe. Keep up the great videos. Best boxing channel on YouTube. Thank you very much, sir or madam. Much appreciate that. That's really nice to hear. Adari Pennant. Daniel Perro should add Gimolo Redondo to his boxing team to learn from him and have more tools as a boxer. He was lucky to get through that fight, wasn't he? He nearly got knocked out. And yeah, I mean, he by the skin of his teeth. I mean, he won most of the other rounds, but Jesus Christ, I thought he was going to get knocked out. Honestly did. Joe Trounson, two super skilled fighters really make a good fight. Well, it depends. Yeah, I know what you're getting at. I mean, someone like Pernell Whitaker, for example, brilliant defensively, brilliant, or even Mayweather, if you prefer, in his second career as Money May, not as Pretty Boy Floyd, but a lot of those fights weren't what you hoped they would be. But you've got to have, if you've got two super skilled fighters and they're even, you normally want someone to take the bull by the horns. I mean, I thought Benavidez versus Durrell was skill-wise was good. There was a lot of skill on display there, as well as a fair bit of action. The 286 Project. In all your time watching boxing, which boxer do you think was world class at their peak, but barely mentioned in the present day? Oh. Barely mentioned in the present day. Well, Pat Cowdell had 2 fights, 2 world title fights. He went the distance with, Salvador Sanchez, an old 15-rounder. Salvador Sanchez, he went the distance with him, and then he got chinned in a round by Azuma Nelson. But people forget how good he was. That's just one example off the top of my head. Good question. These are really good questions. Well, I suppose Kirkland Lang springs to mind, but he was so erratic. I tell you, for some reason, Ray Close has popped into my head. He got a draw and a narrow defeat to Eubanks Senior. I always thought he was a very crafty fighter. Colin Jones, who had 2 title fights, 3 actually, because he drew and then lost on a split decision to Milton McCrory, and then he got stopped on a bad cut to the nose from Donald Curry. These were people who were like world class very briefly, and then sort of, for whatever reason, it didn't last. But I'll have a think about that one. I like that question. Bruce Gass. Skill-wise, Meldrick Taylor versus Chavez was an explosive chess match. Yes, Bruce. Yes. Bruce, what's your opinion on the ending of that? I mean, it's an obvious question, but I know that you're like me. You're one of the old school guys. So let me know what you think, because I'm interested to know your view on that. Was Richard Steele justified in stopping it with 2 seconds to go? Richard V, Richard V, do you... can a Tama beat Bacoli today, or is it a little too soon? You see, I think Bacoli is overrated, which is not to say that he's very good. Not very good. He is very good. But this idea of him being the great bogeyman, if a Tama hits him hard, accurately, and early, he can get Bacoli out of there. But he's very untested, Tama. And Bacoli, if he gets his engine running and he comes in reasonable shape, which would be 280, 275, which for him is reasonable shape. Yeah. I wouldn't put him in with Bacoli yet. What's the rush with this kid? He's 20 years old. Why are they talking about sticking a Tama in with, for all we know, it could end up being another Jared Anderson scenario with Bacoli. You know what I mean? Stuart, what's good, Joe? I'm good, mate. It's all good here. How you doing, Stuart? Ian Watson, thanks for your answer, Joe. Appreciate it. Not at all. Anytime, mate. Anytime. Jazzy Jabs. Hi, Joe. What's happened to Povetkin's backdated band, Joe? Povetkin? He's retired, mate. I thought the light of the prize fight had been deemed to a no contest. I don't know. I know he just retired, didn't he, after the second Gillan fight? And he looked like he should retire as well. I think he was just turning up for the payday. He looked crap in that first Gillan fight until he landed that almighty uppercut. Marvin, not interested in the Fury BS. Who is, mate? I mean, talk about yesterday's chip paper. No. Casual 88, Bruce Gas, great shout. Yeah. The Tavern. Joe, the Tavern. Nice one, mate. Alistair Fraser, glad I just spotted the live chat. Welcome, Alistair. Peter Nagy, do you agree that Don Charles is a first-class plonker? Yes. Do you know what? I met Don. I've said this before, but I met Don outside the York Hall 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, and he was an absolute gent. I chatted for him for about 10 minutes. I was in the queue waiting to go in, and he happened to sort of want to cut through, and I said, "Hello, Don." He had a fighter on the card. I can't remember who it was, and we got chatting just 5-10 minutes. He was an absolute gentleman. Now I don't know what's happened to him, but some of the crap he comes out with is just, well, I don't know. It's very disappointing to see, especially a man of that age. You expect wisdom from someone that age, and he's got wisdom. He had it, but maybe the success just gave him the opportunity to suddenly get back at all the people that had slagged him off, and it went to his head. Success is a funny thing. People handle it, very differently to others. Some handle it very well, some handle it very poorly. Jazzy Jab, Smith versus Yard on the Usyk Dubois card. Yes. Yeah, that'd be good. That's been, that is is that a signed fight? Or I know they've agreed, like, whether they've signed the contract yet, I don't know. But I favour Smith in that fight. I was very impressed with Smith against Buatsi. Buatsi fought well as well. And Buatsi can come back. I mean, don't get me wrong, but Smith's got a lot left, on the evidence of that Buatsi win. I want to see Parker against Caballel. I think Caballel destroys him. Do you know what? I'm going to get shit for saying this. I agree with you. I think Caballel beats Parker. And I like Parker. I rate him. And he's earned a shot at Dubois or Usyk or whatever. But so has Caballel. And if you put those two together, I would pick Caballel to win. I think Caballel has got to be the most underrated, fucking heavyweight in the world at the moment. He's still, after those 3 great wins, he's still ignored. It's really strange. Inside distance, Richard V, I think Atama beats him now. Okay. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. It's a calculated gamble, and sometimes they pay off, and you look like a genius, and sometimes they don't pay off, and you people say, "Well, why did you put him in so early?" Yeah. Who we got here? Grunt. Dave Allen stayed in the gym since the last fight, but come in heavier. Yeah, disappointing weight. Very, very disappointing. Oh, hello. I've got £5 here off Gerard. Hello, Gerard. Good to speak to you, mate. And thank you very, very much for that £5. Much appreciated, mate. Love it. So thank you, sir. Thank you. Canada's Boxing Channel. Hello, Bob. Hello, Joe, he says. Always welcome, Bob. Great channel. That's another one. Give him a sub. Canada's Boxing Channel. Top man, Bob. Yes, he's roughly the same age as me. Maybe 1 or 2 years older, right, Bob? Yeah. Another old schooler. Bill Caveni. Like and share, please, everyone. Thank you, Bill. Much appreciated. Jazzy Jabs. I remember Bruno in the brown sauce as a kid. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I'm not HP, he used to say, didn't he? HP's brown sauce. Fun fact: despite the London graphics on the jars, it's made in Denmark. Is it? Oh God, you've shattered my illusion there, mate. Marvin, Harry Carpenter classic. Yeah, he was a good guy, wasn't he, Harry? I liked Harry a lot. Nice guy, nice fella. What have we got? Let me see if I can find where it was. I had this problem last time. Every time I scroll up, it all zips all over the place. Where are we? Oh, God. Okay. Lego Slack. Hi, Joe. I believe Dave Allen's mentally stunted his boxing potential. What are your thoughts on this? If you agree, do you think more professionals should see sports psychiatrists? I've always felt that he's a strange one psychologically, Dave Allen. I actually think there are similarities between him and AJ in the psyche department. Similarities. I'm not saying they're the same, but there's a strangeness with Dave Allen, almost like he's scared of admitting that he's got ability, or that he's scared of daring to be great or daring to be good, at least. But I think you're onto something there. Sports psychiatrists, yeah, one size don't fit all, but obviously far from it. But it can help you, and Frotch swore by it, didn't he? Gerard, know what I mean, Harry? Yeah, that was it, mate. Know what I mean, Harry? And Frank was in Panto as well. Some of you who are older will remember Frank Bruno in pantomime, wearing a skirt. We won't go there. Bill Caveni, Harry, Frank, and Marvelous Marvin were special. Yeah, man. Marvin is one of my favourite boxers of all time, of any weight. Although I don't think he was the greatest middleweight ever. I think Harry Greb was, but I did love Marvin. My grandfather loved Marvin as well. And he was hard to please. He was always banging on about Marciano and Lewis and all them when I was young. And when he saw Marvin, he was like, that's the real deal. That's the real deal. And Tyson. He thought Tyson was a special fighter as well. What was this? B positive 99. Is Lennox Lewis the most ducked boxer in history? I don't know about the most ducked, but he's certainly, even now, if you go to America, he's sort of considered to be, I think he's underrated. And I think Lennox, you see, Lennox, when you could argue that, let's play devil's advocate because we like doing that on this channel. Lennox was, you know, all right, so Tyson was finished by the time he knocked him out. Holyfield was past his best by the time Lewis had the 2 fights with him. But it's all those other fighters, you know, getting rid of Gallotta in a round, getting rid of big, huge American guy in 2 rounds, whose name can't remember, who was undefeated at the time. You know, slapping Franz Botha around in 2 rounds. I mean, those are not great fighters by any means, but they were legitimate contenders, and Lewis was just swatting them aside. And also the knockout defeat, the way he came back from the knockout defeat against Ruckman really showed his greatness for me, Lennox Lewis, because he got knocked flat and he took the guy to court to get him back in the ring. Don King, who had offered Ruckman a huge case full of money, and Ruckman ditched the South African promoter, Cedric Kushner, and jumped into bed with King. King was going to try and get Ruckman out of that rematch, and Lewis said, "Oh, no, I want my revenge," and got him in the ring and then flattened him around sooner than he'd been flattened. So I think Lennox was a great fighter. Stuart, I watched Calzaghe against an old Eubank earlier. I didn't realise Calzaghe was holding on at the end. Calzaghe said that was his baptism by fire. He let it all hang out early on. He was blowing out of his arse by the middle rounds. But Eubank was tough. Look at Eubank's 2 fights against Carl Thompson, WBO cruiserweight champion, a much, much bigger man. Eubank was unbelievably tough. Lee from Inside the Distance says, I think Dave wants to absorb a shot better and punch about a bit heavier. Maybe he can still, although on the other hand, if he could be mugging us all off. Yeah, this is the thing, Lee, with Dave Allen. You know, I can never read him. I would never have a bet on Dave Allen because you don't know who's going to turn up. But a bit heavier, absorb a shot more. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. It's difficult. Jazzy Jabs, Canada Bob. I got a feeling Dave Allen was addressing your weigh-in issues today, mate. Okay. B positive 99. Is Dana White good for boxing? No, he is not. B positive 99. Tommy Fury is scared of Darren Till. Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? Does Tommy Fury want to be a boxer? Or does he want to be a celebrity? I don't know. JD05, thoughts on bare knuckle boxing? I've seen it, I've watched it, it's horrific. I mean, yeah. These men, not just the men, the women as well. Have you seen the women? The women smashing each other up. There was a girl who was interviewed after a bare knuckle fight, and I'm not joking. She should have been taken straight to hospital. Her face was virtually hanging off, lip, ear, and blood coming out of both the eyes, and it was horrendous. Malignaggi had a bare knuckle contest, didn't he, and broke both his hands. He always did have brittle hands, but B positive 99. Best boxing movie. Mine is Gladiator, 1992. Cuba Gooding Jr. Mine is Raging Bull. Scorsese movie with De Niro as Jake LaMotta. Yeah, that's a great movie. And De Niro won the Oscar for playing Jake LaMotta. And actually, he had 3 professional fights as well under the pseudonym The Young LaMotta. And won 2 of them. Jake was giving De Niro tips. Pretty Boy had great offense. Money had great defense. Yeah, says Bill Cavani. Yeah, that's it. I much preferred Pretty Boy. Lee says, must proofread. Autocorrect keeps mugging me off. Mugs us all off. Who invented that shit, that autocorrect thing? I fucking hate that. No, bollocks. B positive 99. Is Joe Calzaghe underrated? In America, yes, and probably a bit overrated in Britain. That's always been my take on Joe. Good fighter, resume. I think the win over Kester was excellent. The win over Lacey was very good because he was undefeated at the time, Lacey. Hopkins was knocking on a bit. Jones was finished by that point. But there's a lot of padding on Joe's record, but he was good. He was good. Stewart, it's crap when two skilled fighters cancel each other out, both afraid to take risks. Don't see it as much nowadays. No, there is always that. One cancels the other out, yeah. But then being a skilled fighter, as we saw with Bivol and Beterbiev, two very contrasting styles, but both technically brilliant, and there was no shortage of action in both those fights. Peter says Kirkland Lang is rarely mentioned today. Yeah, a great lost soul, I suppose. Wasted talent, maybe. Beat Duran when Duran had something left, and then disappeared. Mickey Duff couldn't even get in touch with him. He was looking for him to get him a title shot or something. He just fucked off. And you've probably seen Steve Bunce's 15-20 minute documentary when he was looking for Kirkland. Found him boozing it up on the park wreck. And then Kirkland suffered a bad injury. I think he fell off a balcony from the 4th floor. Either he was pissed or he was stoned or someone threw him off it. Yeah. Kirkland at his best, so unorthodox, so entertaining to watch. And when he'd slip into the Jamaican patois after the fight, when he was being interviewed, that's so funny. Funny. Lee, Inside the Distance. Southpaw's a decent boxing movie. Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah, definitely. Be positive 99. No rehydration clause in the Eubank Jr. versus Ben rematch. Well, yeah. You see, I think they dodged a bullet there. More specifically, Eubank Jr. dodged a bullet because it was a dangerous weight for him to come in at. Why he shouldn't be fighting at 160. Weight clause, rehydration clause, or no rehydration clause. Ungar, Ricardo Lopez, best boxer ever, never gets mentioned. Yeah, retired undefeated, had a draw on his record, but retired undefeated. Was he minimum weight and light fly? Did he win 3 belts flyweight as well? Brilliant technician. Yeah, great fighter. Inside the Distance. Any guitar tonight, Joe? Not a fucking chance, mate. Not a fucking chance. Where is my guitar? No, it's over there. No, I'm not plugging it in. Be positive 99. Prime Mike Tyson versus Prime Lennox Lewis. Who wins? They are both the same age. Well, this is the age thing. Look, Lewis's prime was years after Tyson's prime. Tyson's prime was probably when he was about 20. Lewis didn't come into his prime until he was about 30. But prime for prime, Tyson, I picked Tyson to knock Lewis out. But with Tyson, you never know because he was so explosive early on. And if you could take him into the later rounds, you can mess him around. But you see, even people like Bone Crusher Smith, who was a huge puncher, he had nowhere near Lennox Lewis's skill. Or even Tony Tucker, again, a big man. They couldn't do anything with Tyson when he was in his prime, other than grab and hold. But I can see prime Lewis beating a prime Tyson, but I still remember Mike Tyson when he was undefeated, when he was destroying everyone, just swatting them aside. These long-established heavyweights, and it was an incredible sight. It was an incredible thing to live through, to watch. You were sort of awestruck watching him. So explosive and so skillful, not just a raw slugger. How many times do we have to say this? Watch the young Mike Tyson. Very, very good technique for a much smaller guy, and the explosiveness would just, destroy people. No one probably expected Ray Close to give Eubank a real workout. I didn't. And even when they had the rematch, I thought, well, Eubank will get him this time. But it wasn't the case. It was still a really close fight. But Eubank had a lot of close fights during that so-called Bum of the Month club he was having, when he had that contract with Sky and Hearn got him the 12 fights in a year or whatever it was, supposed to be. I don't think it was 12 fights in a year, but that's what he signed up for. He was going the distance with people, you know, you'd expect him to stop them. But if you're doing all those camps, Jesus. What have we got? Jazzy Jabs. Southpaw was an okay movie, bit self-indulgent of a character, though. I thought The Warrior was good, though. MMA. I haven't seen that one. Bruce Gass says Taylor was out on his feet. Yeah, with two seconds to go. I don't know, Bruce. Yeah, I mean, as Richard Steele said, I'm not the timekeeper. Yeah, but there was a big flashing light saying that they were in the last 10 seconds on the ring post. So, but Taylor was never the same after that fight. That was a beating, especially the body punching. Fucking hell. Oh, he had big bollocks, did Meldrick Taylor, to take that punishment for 12 rounds and still get up and want more of it. Oh, God. Put it this way, though, if it had been a 15-rounder, Chavez would have stopped him. So I don't know. It's all history now, isn't it? Inside the Distance. Warrior is a gem. I haven't seen it, Lee. I haven't seen that one. Bruce Gass. Duva ran up, messed it. Yeah, Duva went ballistic, didn't he, when the fight got stopped? I mean, he would always go mad. I remember him when it was Lloyd Hannigan versus Johnny Bumpus, and Lloyd ran out at the start of the second round and ambushed Bumpus before he'd even got off his stool, and Lou Duva went mental. He was always going crazy. Yeah. Be Positive 99. Can Turkey help women's boxing like Dana White helped female MMA? Well, the person, believe it or not, who is helping women's boxing the most is Jake Paul. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I have no interest whatsoever in Jake Paul's boxing career, if that's what it is. But he's doing a shit ton for women's boxing. And if you think women's boxing is just lacks skill, I mean, obviously the gene pool that is low, you know, because it's still growing. It's not very deep, but the quality of the fighters is that it's increasing. I watched a 4-rounder on a Jake Paul card last week between two undefeated girls, young women in their early 20s, and it was a terrific fight. 3-minute rounds, 4 3s. It was not 4 2s, and it was a draw, and the quality was very, very good. So, yeah, Lee of Inside Distance says Jake Paul's doing great things for women's game. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Stuart says I don't rate Bacoli. Yeah, decent when he's in shape, good fighter, but not the great demon that everyone was saying. John Trounson. Think Bacoli's been exposed now, quite possibly. I think he wants. He's made a lot of money. If you live in the Congo, the exchange rate's pretty fucking good. If you get Saudi money, it's difficult. It's the old silk pajamas thing, isn't it? But he can make more money. I mean, I wonder if he'll have a rematch with a Jagba. I thought a Jagba would stop Bacoli, and he fought a very strange fight. A Jagba, he boxed, distance fight, and everything. So I don't know. Bacoli's a threat when he's in shape, but again, you don't know what you're getting, do you? Him, Dave Allen, and a few others. You just don't know who's going to turn up. Be Positive 99. Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury rematch. Who wins? Probably Jake. I thought he'd win the first fight, but Tommy edged it. Jake had him on the floor, didn't he, in the first round? And Ngannou versus Wilder. Who wins? Okay, now. Ngannou versus Wilder. Do you know, I'm almost tempted to say Ngannou. I don't know. Fuck knows. I mean, Wilder, if he can somehow resurrect that right hand, Ngannou's going to snoozy land. But can he do it? I don't know. Smash the like, lads. Cheers. Cheers for that little suggestion, Lee. Bruce Gas, yeah, he's Mr. Will Guitar. Good to see you stream. Great channel. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Will. Guitar, you play guitar, yeah? Me too, mate. Me too. Marvin, Bruce has the best music. Yeah, yeah. Bruce Gas, go see his lives sometimes. He has some really interesting stuff going on. Bruce, do you remember when we were on Beats's live and you invited Tim Witherspoon on? That was brilliant. Wow, got to speak to Tim Witherspoon. Yeah, ask him all about the Bruno fight and everything. Yeah, go give Bruce a sub. Bruce Gas Boxing, Jazz and More. Brilliant channel. B positive 99. Yes, even if a punch misses the target of the cup, the groin area in boxing can still cause pain by moving the cup. Yeah. 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 I think the whole Dubois legitimate punch thing is a complete red herring, load of nonsense. Casual 88, £10. Thank you, sir or madam. Much, much appreciated. Much appreciated. You don't have to give me money, you guys, but unless you're rich, in which case, give me a shit ton of money. But I do appreciate these little donations. It does help the channel out. Because trust me, you know, what do I get? 70,000. I get about 70,000 views on my channel a month. And I might take home about 150 quid from YouTube. It's fuck all considering all the videos. That's a month, 150 a month, not a week. But it pays a bill, I suppose. I'd love to see a Talma tee off on Miller's head. Awful bloke. Love the channel, mate. Thanks a lot, mate. Much appreciated for the tenner. Likely to cause pain. A missed punch can still generate. Yeah, again, yeah, I mean, all this is true about the low punches. People think it's just a punch to what Frank Bruno used to euphemistically call the middle wicket, but it isn't. It isn't. Peter says Don Charles is having his 5 minutes of fame. Yeah, it looks that way, mate. It looks that way. Chisora versus George Fox, says Bob from Canada's Boxing Channel, for Chisora's last fight. How long do you think that would go, Bob? Do you think George Fox would even get in the ring? Because he's a bad man. He's a bad man. Oh, never mind all this boxing stuff. He's a road guy. Yeah. B positive 99. Fury versus Joshua. Who wins? I've got a clue, mate. Now, at this point, toss a coin. I mean, I don't think Fury looked shot against Usyk. It didn't look in the rematch that he could do 3 minutes every round. But Joshua, after that smash up against Dubois, I'll probably go for Fury versus Joshua. Yeah, Fury. Bill Haney's sneaky link. Hello, my stepson destroys everybody from 135 to 154. Name your stepson. Is that you're not talking about Devin, are you? All right, mate. JD05, I remember you sarcastically mimicking Ben Whitaker a few weeks back when he was talking about his Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. Well, yes, but then I do that with all of them. That whole, I mean, I don't imagine that if I'm wrong and if, if there is some sort of Jesus figure that he gives a fuck about boxing matches. But, let's not get into that. Jazzy Jabs, good to see you live, Joe. No merchy t-shirt though, man. What's up with that, man? Watching my first ever Misfit show for the Darren Till fight. Nothing else on. Yeah, I've just been hearing about that Misfits thing. Sounds like a lot of bollocks, mate. It's good luck with that. Merchandise. Would anyone buy it? I don't know. What would I put on it? Pictures of Gareth A. Davies. I did make a few t-shirts, which I've worn in a few of the videos that say Joe Stunner Boxing, blah, 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 and I just made them just one off for me to wear on the channel. But I don't know if they'd sell. I mean, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Mr. Will Guitar, who do you consider to have the most potential that never got fulfilled in the sport ever? In my lifetime, there was a kid, I can't remember his bloody name. He was a Hispanic kid, around about the turn of the century. And I know he lost to Jesse James Lehar. And I think he had 3 defeats on his record. What the fuck was his name? But this kid to start with looked like dynamite. And it just it just disappeared. It just, I guess the willing wasn't there, the motivation wasn't there, nothing was there anymore. Yeah, in terms of the British scene, Tony Collins and George Collins, the brothers, Collins brothers from 86, 7. Um, George Collins lost to, I know he got stopped by Kirkland Lang in 5. Tony Collins was very talented, and he just didn't have the discipline, and he ended up getting stopped a couple of times. I think Frank Warren mentioned Tony Collins as being the biggest waste of talent he ever had. Yeah. It's always sad, isn't it, when you see someone with a lot of talent and they just piss it away. Yeah. Bill Caveney, King George Fox, yeah. Queen George Fox? Princess George Fox? Being cheeky to Usyk. How many professional fights have you had? Sorry? How many professional fights have you had? 5. Did you win them all? No. No. You lost to our Polish journeyman friend, didn't you? Yeah. What else have we got here? Pete Nagy. Promoters don't like Caballero because he keeps his mouth shut. Yeah. Well, promoters need to promote, don't they? Nowadays, fighters virtually promote themselves, what with social media and stuff. Jazzy Jabs, Caballero is the real bogeyman. I agree with you, mate. I agree. I agree. Remember, around 2022, he was lined up for Fury to fight. Now we know why it never happened. Well, Caballero, his career he seemed to have these sort of wilderness years, didn't he? Where he wasn't really doing anything. He didn't appear to be doing anything. I know was he a two-time EBU champ, but he's never really jumped into world class. And then he got the chance, and fuck me, he's flown. Even when he was floored by Zhang, he he just picked himself up and carried on, which showed a great deal of mental ability. I mean, that was similar to when Inoue got floored recently because he was just going in for the kill, walking in the front door, looking to get the guy out of there. And if you're in there against a guy who can whack a bit, you might get clipped. But like Inoue, he just got up and finished the job. Stuart says Parker Caballero is the second biggest fight in the heavyweight division after Undisputed. I'd love to see that fight. I would, but you know what? Whoever wins, whoever loses, to me, they both deserve a title shot. So if the belts go up in the air at some point, let's say Usyk beats Dubois and has all 4 belts and then retires. I mean, he'll have one more fight, won't he? But let's say in 18 months, 2 years. I mean, both Caballero and Parker deserve a shot at the vacant belts, if not the champion. Inside the distance, what does Lee say? Parker is looking fragile to me, totally deserving of a shot, but looks fragile. Yeah, we've talked about this, haven't we, Lee? And I agree with you. I mean, he was on the floor a couple of times against Zhang, wasn't he? And even now, go back and look at this fight. Even against Bacoli, was it the first round or just before he knocked out Bacoli? There was a punch. One I could see in my mind's eye. A punch landed and it rattled him. It didn't hurt him, but it rattled him. And yeah, I think Parker can be got out of there. But I like Parker. A lot of time for him. He's a fight anyone guy. I love the way he came back from the Joyce defeat. But I do think the miles on the clock might be showing a little bit. Be positive, no. Pass the sauce, Harry. Yeah. Frank Bruno. Stuart said the same thing. Everyone remembers that advert, don't they? Oh dear. Right, let me find my place again. I miss this bloody thing. It's pissing me about again. Bear with me. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Fucking hell. I've lost my place. Fucking hell. You'll have to bear with me, lads. This fucking scrolling shit keeps spinning all over the fucking place. Where are we now? Caballero's the real bogeyman. We've done that one. The second division. B positive 99 says Great Dane dogs are from Germany. Didn't know that, mate. Rob Marr, hi Joe. Your thoughts on Johnny Fisher's dad? Personally, I'm sick to death of him and his crybaby conduct. He thinks he's a celeb, and his bosh crap in every other sentence is tedious. Yeah, you summed it up, mate. I'm not a fan. I just find it rather, as you say, tedious is, I think, the word. Buzzing, you started doing lives, Joe, says Alex B. You're a real eloquent talker, mate. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Grunt, inflation is rampant. HP sauce costs a fortune now. I see what you did there, mate. Bill Cavani, do you think AJ can sort out his head at this stage? Nah, I think he's got one foot out the door, to be honest with you. Jazzy Jabs, Dave Allen is a classic head worker, nice lad, but I know the type. Yeah, you might have a point. Stuart, I wrote Allen off against Fisher. It was a great fight. I did. I thought he might quit, Allen, after about 5-6 rounds, like he did against Frazier, but he didn't. The highlight of Dave Allen's career was the Lucas Brown body shot KO. You're probably right, mate. Yep. I thought the knockout against the previously undefeated, what was his name? Nick's his name. My mind's going blank. Nick Webb. I thought that was a good win. Rem says, hi, Joe, I'm late. You're always welcome, Rem. Come on in, mate. I'm doing well. Hope you are too. Alan looks like he hasn't trained one day. Rem, you're right, mate. Yep, you're absolutely right. Canada's boxing channel. Really good assessment of Alan versus AJ. Yes. Easily old enough to remember Bruno in Panto. Yeah. He was on at the Dominion Theatre in London. And I said to my mum, I said, do you want to go and watch that? She goes, fuck off. Well, she didn't say fuck off, but she meant it. Joe Stunner looks like a man who would have written for the NME in the 1980s. Yeah, if they paid me enough, mate. Yeah, I used to buy that all the time in the 80s, 70s and 80s. Stuart, Holyfield was the only one that rematched Lewis willingly. Yeah. Lee from Inside This. Dean's incoming. Where's Dean? We know Dean, don't we? Yes, we do. Yes. B positive 99. Is Usyk the GOAT? Not the greatest ever. What, heavyweight? Cruiserweight, maybe. Yeah, probably cruiserweight. Yeah, but not heavyweight. But he is very, very good. Jazzy Jabs. Joe, I always struggle to tip boxers to beat Ali in a fantasy fight. Usyk versus Ali. I think I have Usyk. What is your expert thoughts on that one, mate? Well, I can't comment on any expert thoughts, but I can give you my opinion, which is that Usyk would give anyone in heavyweight history a good fight. Would he have beaten prime Ali, 66 Ali, 65, 66 Ali? I'd pick Ali. Speed. But whenever I do these fantasy matchups, I always adjust the weights. Because obviously, if you're talking, Jack Johnson, the Galveston Giant, was small by today's heavyweight standards. So you have to balance it all up. Usyk could have beaten Ali, but put a gun to my head and I'm saying Ali wins on points. B positive 99. If Usyk wins the undisputed for a third time, will he be the GOAT? No. The heavyweight resume is not deep enough. At cruiserweight, yeah, I'll go with cruiser. I think Holyfield. People say Holyfield, but the Holyfield who fought as a cruiserweight, beating people like Ricky Parkey, De Leon, and that incredible war with Cowie. That against the cruiserweight Usyk would be a thing of beauty. Wow. John Trounson, Tyson was past his best by the time they finally met, but did everything possible to avoid him prior to it. You mean Lewis, do you mean? Yeah, he was way past his best. Way past his best. Liam Hayden, Hatton versus Khan. Mayweather versus Leonard. Who you got? Hatton versus Khan. Khan's hands were fast, and I would give him a chance of beating anyone. Don't forget, people slag off Khan, they take the piss. A lot those very same people will rate Marcus Maidana. You remember Khan against Maidana early on, flooring him with a body punch, beating the shit out of him for the first 6 rounds? Khan had ability in his prime. He didn't have much of a chin. I mean, he could be tagged and hurt. Against Hatton, I don't know, Khan could end it early, but Hatton, if he gets into the second half of the fight, body punches will chop Khan down. But speed gave Hatton a lot of problems, and Khan was fast. Mayweather and Leonard, over 15 Leonard, probably points. Over 12. I still go for Leonard slightly. Mayweather was good though. But no, I got Leonard. The Leonard that beat. Well, I mean, even the Leonard that lost to Duran, he fought Duran at his own fight, and almost beat him. I know Duran was a smaller guy coming up 2 weight divisions, but people forget how small Duran was to have competed at middleweight, won a belt at middleweight against Iran Barkley, who went on to win a 175 belt. But Leonard had spite. He had nastiness about him, which I liked. And if he could get past those long levers of Thomas Hearns and chop him down, because he was being outboxed by her. Very few people. I can't think of anyone that outboxed Thomas Hearns. I'm not talking about outslugging him, outboxing him. And yet Tommy's regarded as having one of the best right hands ever, which I think he probably does. But he was a beautiful boxer. Incredible jab. He would set up the power. That's why he had so many knockouts, picturesque highlight reel knockouts. And as an amateur, when he was a lightweight, fucking nothing of him, was there? He was 6'1" lightweight. He very rarely stopped people. And he lost to Aaron Pryor in the amateurs as well. Right, where are we? Marvin says, Lennox was the best. Well, he was one of them, mate. One of them. Be positive 99. If Tyson Fury had been deducted a point for the elbow on Ngannou, would he have lost the judges' scorecards or a draw? If Tyson Fury had been deducted. I can't remember what the cards were, mate. I know they were dirt close. Might have been a draw. I can't remember. Rem says, Usyk is not the GOAT. He simply doesn't have enough fights. Yeah, heavyweight, I agree, mate. I do agree. Jazzy Jabs. Yeah, the Dave Allen weight thing is silly to me. 5 pound heavier means nothing to a fighter with his plodding flat-foot style, in my humble onion. Yeah. I just want the truth. What football team do you support? When I followed football, I'm from North London. I was an Arsenal fan, but I haven't followed football for years because I just lost patience with it, with the whole culture. Used to be working class men's pursuit. Now it's just fucking none of the Premiership teams are owned by British owners anyway, and it's all bought titles, Arab money and Yank money, and no, I'm not into it. Not into it. But I do like to watch a good game of football still. Inside the distance, mad that we have a British heavyweight champ and a British UFC heavyweight champ. Do we? Oh, Tom Aspinall could be better of the two. Dubois is a good fighter. Yeah. Tom Aspinall is UFC heavyweight champ, is he? Okay. Wow. Dear 1983-01. Agree with the choice of Raging Bull, Joe. Undeniable. Dean. Oh, Dean. Hello, Dean. Yeah, Raging Bull. We've got Dean in the house. I didn't recognise you from your handle. But yeah, Dean's a top fella. And if he had a boxing YouTube channel, I would say go and subscribe to it. But he doesn't. So you missed out there, Dean. We shall fight on the beaches, Winston Churchill. Overrated, behave. Who's overrated, mate? Winston Churchill. Jazzy Jabs. Barry Jones, best British boxing pundit by miles. Joe, your thought? Yeah, he is very good. Very good. So someone who I'm warming to it. I don't like the sound of his voice, but he does speak a fair bit of sense. Is Carl Frampton? I don't like. Some people have got a tone of voice. The cadence of the voice isn't very appealing, but they speak a lot of sense. It's like Carl Froch. I don't like listening to him talk. Not because he talks bollocks all the time, which he does sometimes, but just the sound of his voice. I find it boring. I thought Reed beat Calzaghe, but no, Mr. Will Guitar. Yeah, a lot of people thought Robin Reed beat Joe Calzaghe. One of the biggest, most scandalous decisions you'll ever see is Sven Otka getting a decision over Robin Reed. He barely won a round. In fact, he got about 4 or 5 decisions over in Germany that he shouldn't have had. Stuart, I'll never forget Calzaghe for ducking. I'll never forgive Calzaghe for ducking Froch. Well, I don't. You can make the argument that they could have fought, but Calzaghe was at the end of his career and Froch was just coming through. And Calzaghe wanted the big bag. He wanted money. So what's he going to do? Fight Froch, who had no real economic value, or was he going to go and fight Hopkins and Jones in America? You can technically say he avoided him. Plus the fact Calzaghe moved up to 175. He was at the point of his career where he was thinking, I'm in my mid-30s now, I want money. All right. Casper, opinions on Tyann Booth. Strange guy. Is he still going? Still got his YouTube channel going? Strange fella. Some sort of behavioural disorder there, I suppose. I don't know. It's just a weird guy. It made me laugh a lot back in the day, but I don't even know if his channel's still going. Be Positive 99 is Conor Benn, now known as a Humpty Dumpty after the X stuff. Known as Humpty Dumpty. Well, let's give the kid credit. He did fight his heart out against Eubank Senior, and he showed a lot of gumption in that fight, mental strength, because doing it under the big lights in that type of an event of that magnitude, you've got to be a bit special. So the PD thing, I've made so many videos on that, my opinion on that, but I do believe, I do believe that credit where it's due, shall we say. Jazzy Jabs. Joe, is any of your old band days music online anyway? Yes, it is. Go to Joe Stunner Music. And it isn't just the stuff that I've done. I've done several musical projects over the years, and I've made videos for dozens of songs. Some of them were taken off. YouTube took them down because they broke their stupid rules or some bullshit. I don't know. So I stuck them on, what's that other thing called? Rumble, is it? What's that fucking thing called? Is it called Rumble? Where all the YouTube outcasts go. But yeah, you'll find stuff on Joe Stunner Music. Casual 88, best acting performance I've seen across my films. De Niro as LaMotta. Yeah, I think that is the greatest acting performance I've seen. Film. De Niro as LaMotta. I didn't recognise him for about 5 minutes. When he goes from being the young Jake to the old Jake, who's like 5 stone overweight, and he's literally put on all the weight. I didn't even recognise him. Stunning performance. NSDB 100, Cinderella Man, decent boxing film. Yeah, that's Russell Crowe, isn't it? Have I seen that? Yeah, I think I have seen it. It's all right. Amaldo Nieves, good show. Thank you, Amaldo. Much appreciated. Where are you from, Amaldo? What country are you from? Or yeah, let me know, mate. Let me know. Bill Cavani. Do you think Eubank versus Ben should run it back or move on? The 160 thing makes me think no. No, I don't think so. They're just different weights. One's big and one's small. I mean, it was a great event, Gimmick, but it was a gimmick fight. I said all along it was a gimmick fight. Anthony Macken. Kirkland Lang was a real entertainer. Sad case of undisciplined lifestyle. Yes, mate. Big weed smoker, big drinker. Yeah, great shame about him. Unbelievable natural ability. Bill Cavani, 84 to 87 Tyson was special. Turned pro in 85, I think, Bill Tyson. 87, yeah. He was at his peak in 87, I agree with you. Yeah. Bruce Gass, 50 years ago to the day, Ali versus Lyle in a great fight. 50 years ago. Was it really? 75? Yeah. Yeah. I think Ali said Lyle hit him hard and all. Gave him a good fight. Ali, of course, by that point was past his best. But... Jazzy Jabs, Prime Mike Tyson and Prime Lewis. My verdict is that Prime Tyson beats Young Lewis. Prime Lewis beats all versions of Tyson. Well, definitely Prime Tyson beats the Young Lewis, definitely. And they did spar as amateurs, and did they ever fight as amateurs? I don't think they did. They sparred though, didn't they? Prime Lewis beats all versions of Tyson. No, I beg to differ with you on that one. I'm not convinced, but I would go with, like Bill just said, the young Tyson, 1987 version of Tyson against the best Lewis. I would go for Tyson. Stuart, Tyson beat a weak division, got found out later. The division... A weak division. It wasn't the strongest. I don't think it was completely full of bums. It wasn't like the Klitschko era. That was a weak heavyweight division, really weak heavyweight division. I mean, people like Pinkel and Thomas had a lot of ability. Trevor Berbick was a tough guy. He was never stopped after getting knocked out by Tyson, and he went on for many years afterwards. But got found out later. I think he found himself out. He's another, flawed genius. I did a video a long time ago comparing him mentally to the chess player Bobby Fischer, who won the FIDE World Chess Championships in 1971. He beat a guy called Boris Spassky. He was a genius chess player, absolute genius. And at the time, the Soviet Union ruled chess, and they had hundreds of grandmasters, and Fischer went through them like a hot knife through fucking soggy butter. And then once he won the title, never played professional chess again, apart from he came back briefly again in a rematch with Spassky about 20 years later. But he could have made millions, but mentally he unraveled. It happens with these geniuses sometimes. Mike Tyson, I think, is a boxing equivalent almost, or there are similarities anyway up here. Simon Bird, fantastic to see another live. Thank you, Simon. Welcome, mate. Welcome. Hope you've got over your health problems, mate. First round boxing. I think my boy Echo might get battered by Josh Taylor unless Taylor is completely washed. Do you know what? I've been thinking about that one. I wouldn't put it past Echo to win. Might be worth a cheeky fiver on that. Stoppage. I don't know, maybe not a stoppage, but I like Echo a lot. I think he's probably better than people are giving him credit for. Bruce Gass, 88 and 89. 88, yeah, Bruce. Didn't he lose to Douglas in 89? Tyson, I'm talking about. 88, yeah. That was the Spinks year. Marvin, hypotheticals are open. Yes, mate. Well, it's all hypotheticals, isn't it, mate? What is the worst fight you've watched to date, Joe? Says Rem. Well, there are two by the same fighter, and that fighter is Johnny Nelson. One was against Carlos de Leon, which is one of the worst fights, the worst fight I've ever seen. And I watched some fucking stinkers. And then he fought James Waring for another version of the cruiserweight title, and that was almost as bad. He got a draw, I think. Was the draw against de Leon and he lost to Waring? I think it was. I can't remember. Unbelievably dull fights. Anything with Sven Otka was boring. Um, and don't forget, I mean, if you thought that was bad, and it was bad, that Times Square looking thing, go and have a look at Sven Otka. Oh, Tony Tubbs versus Tim Witherspoon, both way out of shape, flubbing around the ring with each other. What was that? 85, 4, 5. Hmm. Be positive 99. How good would Prince Nassim Hamed have been if he took boxing seriously? Wasted potential. He did take boxing seriously until he got to the top of the tree, and then it went to his head. Another flawed genius. I think he was exceptionally good. He did everything wrong technically, but then so did Roy Jones, and he was brilliant too. But you know, you make a lot of money. You win belts. It's difficult, you know, unless you're Marvin Hagler. It is difficult to keep up that regime, that discipline. Very, very difficult. Nassim was the most skilled fighter I've ever seen, says Stewart. You see, he didn't do anything technically right, but he was so powerful, so unorthodox, he hit so hard that he was, yeah. He's probably underrated, Hamed, in many quarters because his career finished early, didn't it? Simon Bird, if we're on hypotheticals, who is a boxer you dislike but can't quite explain why? For his skills? You mean in the ring? I mean, outside of the ring, there's plenty I don't like, but I never took to Hopkins watching. Well, I don't know. Some of his early middleweight defenses were quite good. On Andre Ward, I mean, again, there are fighters that I kind of respect. Like I respect Hopkins, I respect Andre Ward, I respect Floyd Mayweather, but they never thrilled me, you know. Dislike him? I don't know about disliking. I don't know about dislike. Mr. Will Guitar, I want to hear Joe Stunner play some guitar. What's your axe of choice, sir? Gretsch's, mate. I own 4 of them, 4 Gretsch's, 2 solid bodies and 2 semi-acoustics. I have other guitars as well, but they were always my favorite. Yeah, because they just look fucking sexy, don't they? First round boxing. Ali versus Norton 2 is a very underrated fight because it doesn't have a catchy name. Yeah. That was a close fight as well. I thought Ali won it, but it was close. Well, Norton definitely won a third one. Amalda Nieves, what do you think about Mateus versus Puello? What, a rematch, you mean? Oh, Puello. Sorry, I think the Paro, wasn't I? Sorry. Mateus versus Puello. We've got to see where Mateus is at. Puello. Spin a coin at the moment. I don't know. Big test for Puello. Mateus, when he's on it, is really on it. But after losing to Pero, I know he's come back with a win, hasn't he, Mateus? But I don't know. That's a good question. I'd go for Mateus against Puello at the moment, but again, there's a grey area. Jazzy Jabs, Joe, you should watch the movie The Warrior Man. Not an MMA fan, but Hardy is great in it. Massive Marlon Brando type character, I thought, on the waterfront vibes. Oh, you sold it for me, mate. Yeah, I'll go with that. Brando and on the waterfront. Wow. Okay. Rem, work is so tiring. I just want to watch boxing and relax every day. You've just described what I'm going to do when I'm retired, mate. Simon Bird, Chavez Taylor. Richard Steele argues that he asked Taylor, "Are you okay?" twice, and he failed to respond or let go of the ropes, so he had little choice but to call for the KO. Well, he definitely asked him if he was okay once. Twice, it maybe I can't remember offhand. But he did seem to sort of look at him. Are you okay? Look at him and wave it. But I mean, Taylor was smashed up. There's no two ways about it. The question is, should he have been allowed to see out the last 2 seconds? But if you look at that fight, like I say, the body punching, watch that fight again, watch the body punching. It was one of those fights where Taylor was winning rounds, but you could tell the fight was being won by Chavez. I mean, Bruce Gass, he'll remember that fight well. Yeah. Mr. Will Guitar, Eubank was weight drained most of his career, it felt like. Yeah. 168, you mean? No, he could make it. He made 168 a damn sight better than his son makes 160. I know that much. Simon Bird, Rem, I don't just watch boxing, but I do get to relax every day. You lucky so-and-so, Simon. Jordan Perry, hi, hope you're okay, mate. Wonder what will happen tomorrow if John Fisher sees Gareth A. Davies. Also, Dave Allen has messed up with the weight. Yeah, we were talking about that. Weren't we? The weight, yeah, it's a strange weight. John and Gareth A. Davies. You see, John Fisher, I mean, how much does he weigh? 350 pounds? 400 pounds? I mean, that guy's a walking heart attack. You can make as many Chinese takeaway jokes as you like if you want to go into an early box, a very big box, but lose some fucking weight, mate. Fucking hell, he's gonna have a heart attack. If Johnny gets knocked out, John will probably be in his box early because he'll have a heart attack. And also, he's taking it too fucking to heart. You know, people criticise Johnny because they thought he lost. I like Johnny Fisher. I think he seems like a nice lad. Dave Allen seems like a good bloke. I just happen to think Dave Allen won that fight pretty convincingly. But you say that to Big John, and he's like, "Oh, you know, like he's giving it large." You know? It's just an opinion, you know. B positive 99, pound for pound hardest puncher in boxing history. Oh, the whole lot. Fucking hell. Of my lifetime. Let's do my lifetime first of all. So McClellan, Julian Jackson, those are two big bangers. Tommy Hearns with the right hand, certainly. History, the whole of history. Oh my God. Jimmy Wilder's got a shit ton of knockouts, hasn't he? People would say the quality of the opposition wasn't great, but then Jimmy was really just a strawweight fighting, sometimes featherweights. So he was a big banger. Don't know, fucking hell. I mean, there are so many. Harry Greb, big puncher. Sam Langford. God, there's so many. Difficult to pick ones out because you think if I mention him, then I'm going to think, why didn't I mention him? Because he hits harder than him. And that is a very, very good question. Yeah. Joe Lewis hit hard, didn't he? Especially with the right hand. Marciano, yeah, he had one punch power, yeah. I mean, someone like, you know, you got some fighters like Carlos Monzon and Hagler, for example. They were very, very good boxers, and they would set up their power, but their one punch power probably wasn't as considerable as certain other fighters. But they would set it up so well that they could get it done. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. A top 10 pound for pound hardest punchers in boxing would be difficult to compile. Never mind, just mentioning one. Jazzy Jabs, I reckon the Fury Joshua fight will just drop. Both promoters will drop it Warren style without any micro updates, as Hearn usually does. The fight needs a hassle-free announcement to preserve its buzz. Yeah, but is anyone really interested anymore? Because I'm sure as hell not. I will watch it, and like I said earlier on, it may be a very good a very good fight. I mean, you get that sometimes. I always say, the third Ali Fraser fight was one of the probably. I mean, I think it's probably the best heavyweight fight I've ever seen. But they were both past it, both way past it. So Rem says, I hate the idea of pound for pound hardest puncher. The heavyweights will always hit the hardest. Yeah, he's probably talking. I think Jazzy was talking pound for pound there, mate. But yeah, I take your point. WT Wiz. When there are any literal videos on YouTube showing how you hit a guy low double-digit times, I don't think there's an argument you got hard done by. You're talking about Dubois, of course. Yeah, I know what you're saying, mate. I know what you're saying. John Trounson, Aaron Pryor. There was a fighter. If you have never seen the first Aaron Pryor versus Alexis Arguello fight, go and watch it now. Well, not now, not right now, after you've finished with this, because it is one of the greatest fights of my lifetime. The rematch is bloody good too, but the first one is off the chart. Off the chart. Off the chart. Stuart says they can't leave the Fury AJ match much longer. It's losing the value every day. I think it's past. I think that horse is gone, mate. But yeah. Jazzy Jabs. Imagine if Warren was Usyk's promoter. The stuff he'd have in his cannon to promote would be insane. Wouldn't it? Oh yeah, you wouldn't get him saying that Usyk had bottled it or rolled over when from a legitimate punch or anything. Frank is, well, yeah, Frank is Frank, isn't he? But they're all the same, these promoters. They all talk a lot of crap. First round boxing. Met Atama the other day. Seems a bit brain dead and not in a likable way like Dubois. Do you think so? I haven't met him. I know G-Man told me he'd interviewed him. He met him and he said he was okay. He's only a young man, isn't he? Jordan Perry, I want to see Atama get the British and European belts before going to world level. There's no need to rush him. Could not agree with you more, Jordan. I've been saying that since the kid turned pro. All this bollocks about, oh, he's got to beat Mike Tyson's record. Who gives a fuck about that? Let him be the first Moses Atama. Atama is a ringer of a young Marlon Brando, man. I don't think so. I don't think so. Jazzy Jabs, I struggled to get Fury around in the second fight. Cruel as boxing, scoring his 12 competitive rounds, but lost them all. Interesting. No, I gave Fury the second fight. Oh no, I gave him a few. I can't remember what I scored it. 116, 112, maybe around about that point. Yeah, but sometimes you do get fights like that. Every round's competitive, but you're giving all of them to one guy just because he's slightly better. And then people say, oh, it's a robbery. Not necessarily. Stuart says, I always picked AJ to beat Fury, but AJ looks a shadow himself now. Yeah, I agree, mate. Joe says, AJ is the superior. Oops. I know what you're talking about. Jazzy Jabs, without getting into religion, why do so many boxers claim to be so religious? Well, maybe they are religious. Maybe it isn't a boxing thing. Lots of people are religious. I mean, I'm not remotely religious, but I do know lots of religious people, and many of them are really nice people. On the other hand, I know some atheists. I've met some atheists who are fucking idiots. So, but that's my point. It doesn't matter whether you're religious or not. It has no bearing on your worth as a human being, whether you're religious or not. And from what I gather, truly religious people believe that you cannot lie to God because it's inside you. God knows your heart, so to speak. So if they're faking it, if they're just paying it lip service and don't genuinely feel it in their heart, then their God will know this and will be on them. Oh. Without getting to it, oh yeah, Aaron Pryor, hardest puncher in boxing history. Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, he hit hard. He hit. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you're right, mate. But then he had that swarming style, kind of like the Venezuelan guy who killed himself. What was his name? Every fight was a knockout. Oh fucking hell! Killed his missus and then killed himself, hung himself in prison. Yeah, he had a tattoo of Venezuelan guy on his. I can't remember his fucking name now. This is what happens when you get older. You forget these names that you've known for decades, years. Joe, Carlos Hernandez. Carlos Hernandez. Wasn't he the guy who did Mayweather take a knee against him because he had a bad hand or something? Am I thinking of the same guy? Carlos Hernandez. That's the only Carlos Hernandez I can. Again, I'm going to claim early dementia if I'm talking about something totally different. Rem, a town where I think should go traditional route. Don't rush. Completely agree. British, European, Commonwealth. Do it that way. Mop them up, mate. Dean Walsh, where is Harley Ben these days? Retired, I guess. Oh, I was there at the York Hall for his debut. He stopped the guy in 2 rounds, and that's the only stoppage on his resume. The other guy didn't look like he'd ever seen a boxing ring in his life before, and never fought afterwards. Harley Ben, yeah. Jabby Jav, no, Joe. I mean, why are you not in a trademark random merchy type T-shirt? I meant. Oh, okay. Merchy type. Okay. Got this one, haven't I? WT Wiz, Aaron Pryor might not be the hardest puncher, but he was the craziest. Yes, mate. Absolutely. Absolutely. Around the bend. But he was another one. Flawed genius. You know, like the old sniff, and talent went out the window. Had it all, threw it all away. Died young. Jordan Perry. Imagine Otto Wallin versus Audley Harrison. That would be the worst fight to watch. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Otto Wallin didn't turn out to be anything special, did he? Audley. See, Audley won the European title. People forget that. And he won an Olympic gold medal. If he'd have kept his mouth shut and not been a total tit about saying he was the best thing since sliced bread, people would be like, "Oh, well, he won the European title. That's okay. You know, that's a good achievement. Yeah, we'll give you a break there, Audley." But no, he had to go run off at the lips. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. I've lost my place again. Bear with me. Okay, now this fucking scrolling shit just pings, and suddenly I've lost my place. Right. Bo, waste of talent, says Joe. Well, he certainly never achieved what he should have achieved, Joe. I'll know that much, mate. Jordan Perry, hope Caballero versus Parker will be on Usyk Dubois too. Well, I wish it would too, Jordan, but no, it won't be, mate. Stuart, Bo should never have lost to Holyfield. Lack of heart and got lazy. Well, he was out of shape for that fight, wasn't he? And I think, if memory serves, his trainer got rid of him afterwards. Yeah. Jazzy Jabs, did it? Yeah, it did strike me how odd how Usyk proposed the street fight, though. So out of character. Yeah, I thought that was as well. I thought that was strange. Maybe just got sick of him and thought, "Oh, you idiot. Let me have my proper fight and then I'll slap you around later on." I don't know. Be positive. What happened to James Miller, parachutist? I think he's dead. I'm not even joking. I think I read somewhere that he died. I know that the security had to stop him from getting ironed out by the crowd because they were so pissed off. Can't blame them. Joe, Bo had the biggest heart next to all. Check out the Gallotta rematch. He did have bottle. Yeah, he did. He did. Jazzy Jabs, pre-Caballero fight. Did anyone look at the scary Zhang and talk about attacking his body as the key to victory? Yeah. But Caballero did that with done that with a few fighters now. Very, very good body puncher. Joe, James Miller hung himself in a desert after being told he had cancer. Okay, I did read that. Yeah. James Law, I remember Eddie Hearn mentioning Caballero every time Joshua needed a late replacement. Would have been interested to see how he did if that fight had happened. Yeah. Aurelio Nunziata. You from Peterborough? No, mate, I do live there, but I'm from London originally. And I don't like Peterborough at all. I will return. Rem, wonder how Caballero Fury would have gone when it was scheduled years ago. We'll never know, but it is a good question. Jazzy Jabs, I do feel a bit for Dubois. I feel he gets a lot of stick, and it's mainly due to the management decision and god awful team. Yeah, he's being told that he's got to try and behave like a bad boy, and of course he ain't a fucking bad boy. He's a big lump and he's a good boxer, but he's not a bad boy. Joe says AJ head's fine. It's his chin. I think it's his head, mate. I think his chin ain't great, but the head. I think waffles are great. What a good name. Brilliant channel, Joe. Thank you very much. I think waffles are great. I think waffles are great too. Jazzy Jabs. Oh, did anyone see the Fisher Allen promo? Not gonna lie, that rhino cry Fisher did on the mountain tickled me something wicked. I ain't seen that. I'm gonna have to go and have a look at that. Jazzy Jabs, not out of character for Usyk. He's mentioned how the guys he rolls with are hard dudes plenty of times. The most recent example was after John Fury headbutted the little fella. Yeah, do you remember that? Fucking John Fury. It would have been funny if that little kid, that little bloke who was about 30 and looked like he was about 18, had smashed John up. Jazzy Jabs. No, WT Wiz, you misunderstand. I'm not doubting how tough they are, but the proposition was very out of character for Usyk. Usually takes it all in his stride. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Rob Marr, Joe, your earliest boxing memories on the TV and in attendance for any shows. My earliest TV memory is watching Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton 3. And I would have been 8, I think. And the shock that came after it, because everyone thought that Norton had won, was palpable. Yeah, I remember that. I was living in a lodging house in North London. We had a couple of rooms upstairs and a kitchen at the end of the hallway, at the end of the landing. And my mum had it on. We had it on the old telly, the old black and white telly. And one of the lads from the woman who owned the house, the lodging house, he came upstairs and watched it with us. I remember that's my first ever memory. First ever live memory, probably the York Hall. I do have some very good memories of watching boxing at the Royal Albert Hall as well. Used to go with my granddad. That was good. But attendance at shows, that's a good one. I can't remember the first show I attended, but then I attended some amateur stuff. I didn't really know what I was watching when I was very young. Do you know, it's only when I got to about 11 or 12, 13 that I started to really understand it. Like when I watched the Ali versus Norton thing, I don't know what the fuck I was watching. I was only 8. But it gets you into it. You sort of get into it, you know. And then if you've got your dad or your granddad or whoever it is says, watch this, look what he's doing, look what he, then suddenly the cogs in the brain start whirring. Stuart, I think Usyk is the GOAT. The size difference, and he bullied AJ and Fury. Okay, yeah, that's true. Of course, you've got to assume that AJ and Fury are themselves historically elite heavyweights, but WT Wiz, just trying to gin up some hype for the fight. Since we all know Usyk is going for dog walk Dubois again, he's got to do something to get people interested. Well, I don't think this is a foregone conclusion. I make Usyk a strong favourite, but Dubois, do not dismiss him. I think Usyk wins, but he's got to be on his P's and Q's. I don't think this is an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination. Stuart, Khan made a mess of Barrera for what he did to Naz. Yeah, Barrera was fucking way out of his weight division and way past his best. Jazzy Jabs. I just hope that if Usyk does get beat, it isn't due to him aging overnight. Yeah, that's true. That would be crap. I actually think Usyk is looking fresh. Looked great against Fury, but Fury is big and slow. Yeah, yeah. Inside the distance, Lee says, Khan for me was probably Floyd's biggest problem. Do you know what? I actually think that's a good point. I think Khan's speed would have given Floyd problems, at least for half the fight. And in fact, Mayweather did run a little public poll saying, who should I fight next, Maidana or Khan? And Khan won that poll. And who did Floyd fight? Maidana, twice. Owen Foster, Marciano versus Dempsey. Probably Marciano. They're about the same size as well. Different eras, different styles. Yeah, Marciano, I think, probably. Owen Foster, Duran versus Virgil Ortiz. Duran. Jazzy Jabs, Eubank Jr. does look like a mini Clark. A mini Clark. Mini Clark what? And post-Ben fight, he looked exactly... Oh, Big Frazier. Oh, I see. Okay, with his massive swollen head. Liam Hayden, Leonard Duran won. My favourite fight ever. Just 15 rounds of non-stop action. Yeah, it's a great fight. Great fight. That was one of the first ones where I watched and it really absorbed me. You know, I must have been about 13 at the time, 12, 13. And I finally started to understand what I was watching. You know. Owen Foster, Hearns had the upper weight of a cruiserweight and legs of a lightweight. Yeah, crazy body, all upper body, wasn't it? He looked like Big Fraser's inside the Your old Dar. Good afternoon, lads. Hello, your old Dar. Dave is a plodder. A few pounds is nothing. Okay. Jazzy Jabs. Joe, I think heavyweight should literally be forced to watch Larry Holmes jab from day one. Just an unreal, snappy, powerful weapon. And Liston as well. Liston's jab was... People say, oh, you know, because they sparred. The young Larry Holmes sparred the old Liston and says he picked up tips from Liston. Liston's jab was a fucking pole driver. A real battering ram. Rem says, might be controversial, but I think Prime Khan beats Mayweather. He was extremely fast, which always troubled Floyd, Cezab, etc. Not to mention, could Floyd KO him? I don't know. I think it's possible. It's possible that Khan's speed, the Prime Khan, the speed gives Floyd trouble. But for me, I think Floyd catches up with him and knocks him out. But the speed would give him trouble for rounds, no doubt about it. Owen Foster, Fisher will win in a more convincing and probably more boring performance. Could be, Owen, could be. Yeah, I've thought that too. Jazzy Jabs, football is an absolute cooperative nightmare. Not watched it since I had acne. Yeah, I kind of tuned out years ago too. B positive 99. Drederick Tatum is the Simpsons Mike Tyson. Who the fuck is Drederick Tatum? And Mike Bison in Street Fighter 2 was also Mike Tyson. Got me on that one, mate. Mr. Pads, Solo Joe, are you planning on going to any of the London fights this year? Only the small hall ones. Nothing major for me. I'm trying to get my mortgage paid off, so everything. I don't even have a car. I haven't even got a license because I'm saving my money to pay my mortgage off. I want to pay my mortgage off by the time I hit retirement age, and then I can actually enjoy my retirement. Because I know one person, an older lady, she worked till she was in her early 70s just to pay her mortgage off, and I'm like, that ain't going to fucking be me. So don't get me wrong, I'm not begging for sympathy at all because I live a comfortable life, but no, paying 500 quid to go and watch a boxing match is no. I'd rather stick that into my mortgage money. Owen Foster, Froch called out Calzaghe as he was moving up. Calzaghe would have UD Froch prime for prime. I think Calzaghe would have outpointed Froch as well, yeah. Jazzy Jabs. Oh, I like the sound of Barry Jones's voice, actually. Think he's funny. Boxing, yeah, he's all right. Barry Jones is all right. Boxing comms lack humour massively these days. Talking of annoying voices, Sonny Edwards. Joe, do you consider Chavez Senior as the greatest 140-pounder? I'm big on longevity, so yes, he's up there. Aaron Pryor, we mentioned earlier, is in the mix. But then if you're talking about people like, if you go way back, Jack Kidd Berg, someone like that, a few others. If there was a 140-pound, they were essentially 140-pounders. You know, Benny Leonard, when he outgrew the lightweight division, would have been a 140-pounder. I mean, it's difficult to say. In terms of belt holders, yeah, you might have a point there. Chavez, can't really think beyond Chavez Senior. Owen Foster. Okay, was a tough guy with quick hands and good skills, but did get 2 gift decisions. Let's not forget that America and England have their controversies. Yes, they do. But I must have seen 4 or 5 Otka fights where I thought he's lost that. And he got the decision. And as we know, 2 wrongs do not make a right. Stuart, Calzaghe waited until the last day to vacate to avoid mandatory challenger Froch. Okay. Rem. Next MVP prospects card is Beatrice Ferreira. Yeah, I saw that. Some other undefeated fighter. They must be paying big money to get them from Matchroom. Are they working with Matchroom or has she signed with MVP? I don't know. But I like Beatrice Ferreira. She's a very, very good female fighter. She's got that nasty streak in her. Jazzy says, Darren Till's fight has just started for anyone who cares. I'm doing this, mate. Sorry. Be Positive 99, $1 Million Baby. Yeah, that was a good movie. That was a very, very good movie. I forgot about that one. Yes. Jazzy Jabs. Oh, the Misfits thing actually has fit ringwalk birds. Where they go from proper boxing. Yeah. You've seen Riyadh cards. They've now got these lookalikes doing the ring cards. So you get Ed Sheeran carrying, and then Cannibal Lecter carries another one around, and then fucking no, Michael Jackson carries one around. Oh, bollocks! Bring back the tits. That's what I say. Rob Marr, great acting in boxing films make me think of Mickey in the Rocky series. Burgess Meredith was a great actor. He was. You remember him as the Penguin and the old cheesy Batman thing from the 60s? Yeah, Burgess Meredith was a great actor. And he did capture that spit and sawdust, veteran boxing trainer thing. Dexter Eco, yo, Joe Stunner, Eubank Jr. versus Jake Paul, joke matchup. Which round does Junior win? Whichever round he chooses, mate. Can you imagine if Eubank come in at like 175, like whatever he considered to be his optimum weight, what he'd do to Jake Paul? Jesus Christ. John Tronson. It says a lot for the sport that all the best boxing movies are fact-based. You literally can't write better drama. Absolutely, mate. There is nothing more dramatic than when boxing gets it right. Like, I mean, even Eubank Jr. versus Ben was a fantastic fight. Or, the first Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti fight, or the first Aaron Pryor versus Aguero fight, or Ben versus McClellan, or any other number of fights you want to mention. Stuart says, Lewis Lennox was a different fighter after he changed to Kronk. Absolutely true. He had Pepe Correa, who was just a cheerleader before that. And then he had John Davenport, who was a very dour American sort of drill sergeant type who didn't really fit with Lennox. Yeah. Pillow Pants. What a great name. Joe, in this age of giant 6'7" heavyweights, we've been told that the average sized heavyweights of yesteryear, Ali Tyson, etc., couldn't compete today. Does the average sized Usyk prove otherwise? Yes, to some extent it does. Yeah. Size does matter, but only if you've got the skill to back it up. So yes, I think. But don't forget, Usyk is 220 something like that, 222. That's bigger than George Foreman was in his first career, and that's 2 stone heavier than more than 2 stone heavier than Marciano. 2.5 stone heavier. Owen Foster, Mike Tyson in the 80s was fantastic. 90s was still good, but the 20s Tyson was average. He was never invincible. Yes. Yeah. Well, 90s Tyson. Yeah, I mean, see, when he came out of prison, he still weren't. It still wasn't the Tyson of old, was he? He was on the slide before he went to prison. He was good though. I mean, but then after the Holyfield things, after he, taking a chunk out of Holyfield's ear, and the game was up. The game was up. He had power to get you out of there early, but like the big Danish guy he beat up. Was that guy? The guy I mean. Stopped him in 6 rounds. I think the guy quit in his stall, and then he tried to break Franz Botha's arm. That was a crap fight. And yeah, he was done. He was pretty much done. Jazzy Jabs. Look at the ones that gave Prime Mike a fight, though. They swap him for a Prime Lewis, man. I'm I'm going with Prime Lewis. Okay, yeah. Owen Foster still I'd pick Tyson over Wilder and Joshua. Tyson Fury over Wilder and Joshua? Probably not over Usyk. Fury is an interesting one. Yeah, I'd pick him over. Certainly over Wilder. Well, yeah. You mean you pick Tyson Fury over Wilder? Well, he's beaten him twice or 3 times really already. And Joshua, I think he'd beat Joshua. Or do you mean Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson I'd pick over Wilder and Joshua. I'd probably pick him over Usyk. Mike Tyson versus Tyson Fury. Yeah. I'll go with Mike Tyson. Rem, I do love these lives, Joe, for sure. I always refresh my YouTube page to see if you've uploaded half the day. Yeah. Thank you very much for your support, mate. Vader D. Were those fights really any worse than Canelo versus Skull or Catterall or Harald? Yeah, well, they were shit fights, mate. Definitely. An unwanted blast from the past. Stuart, all athletes evolve and get better. Today's champions would beat yesterday's champions. Well, if you got a time machine and brought them up here, yeah, they would. But if those guys from the past with all that talent were born in the same era and had the same modern training methods and so on, they'd be better than they were 80 years ago. You know what I mean? It's modern day training methods, strength and conditioning, dieting, and so on. You have to apply it to yesteryear's fighters. I mean, can you imagine how good Muhammad Ali would have been if he'd had modern day training methods? Strength and conditioning, all that stuff. Stephen Brody, Bobby Fischer Goes to War is one of my favourite books. I see similarities in boxing and themes to strategy. Maybe one. Yeah, Bobby Fischer Goes to War. We're back on the great chess champion Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer's, there's a biography on Bobby Fischer called Endgame. I can't remember the author. And there's a very, very good documentary about Bobby Fischer called Bobby Fischer versus the World, I think it's called. It might be on YouTube. Watch that. Because as Stephen Body, he left this comment. He says, in terms of strategy and tactics, boxing and chess, there are similarities. Yeah. Strength of mind, tactics, controlling your emotions, all that stuff. It's all similar, very, very similar. I just want the truth. These misfits fights are too funny. Sounds like we're missing the fun, lads. Jersey Jabs, who would you put Liam Cameron in with next, Joe? I do like the lad as a person. That Rocky 5 ring, what was epic. Liam Cameron, do you know what? I'd give him a fight that he's got a good chance of winning against a name. I would go with Lyndon Arthur. Because they're both coming off defeats. And last chance saloon, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, put him in with Lyndon Arthur. Random question, Joe. Oh, hang on. Rem says Liam Cameron, Ezra Taylor, or something like that, I think. Same stable and fun fight. Yeah. Mark McGowan says, random question, Joe, are you from North London? Yes, I am from North London, from Haringey. I lived opposite Turnpike Lane Tube Station, if you know where that is. Lausanne Road. Owen Foster, the worst robbery you've ever seen. An example of Holyfield Lewis 1, complete pre-written scorecards. That is no shape or form is one of the worst I've ever seen. The worst individual robbery I've ever seen, and I very, very rarely use the word robbery, was Roy Jones, Ducku, was it Ducku Kim? What's the guy's name? Anyway, I can't even remember his bloody name. That's how ridiculous it was. In the Olympic final, the South Korean did not win a single 5-second period of any round, and yet won the gold medal. Utter disgrace. Professionally, Reed versus Sven Ocker, I've mentioned. Catterall versus Taylor, the first one was appalling. There was one that was Henry Wharton against someone. One of Henry Wharton's fights was an absolutely scandalous decision. But there's a fight recently, not recent, I say within the last 5 years. At my age, that's recent. Who the fuck was it now? I can't remember. God, wish I could remember this fight. I'm going to put this on the posts when I do remember it. The post page on the, because the guy didn't win. The guy got floored, didn't win a single round, and yet he won a unanimous decision. What the hell was that? Mestra, Gabriel Mestra, was it? Against someone? I'll look that up. But you won't believe what you're watching when you see the guy who wins. It's unbelievable. No one connected with that those scorecards should have ever judged the fight ever again. Right. Jabby jabs. Gretches are beautiful guitars. My mate had one when I had an SG. We swapped and he wanted his Gretsch back, but I didn't reciprocate. Still have it in the loft. History. Oh, nice one. What Gretsch is it? What model is it, Jazzy? I had an SG when that was my first ever electric guitar, and I fucking hated it. It was too heavy for me. Didn't like it at all. Wouldn't keep tune either. Maximus Jenkins, like I said, Fisher will win, as Eddie Hearn has dragged Dave Allen to different matchroom events instead of resting. Fisher has done little social media. Yeah, the weight don't do him any good, does it? No, I think at least it's going to be a Fisher win on points, at least. Jazzy Jabs, offset fenders for me. Big Chief, this is. Says Jazzy Jabs, offset fenders for me. I just love how they look. I own a Strat, though. Okay, yeah. I owned a Strat once. Oriello Oriello Nunziata. Have I pronounced your name right, Oriello? I do apologise if I haven't. Can you do a shout out for Boys Stable Central Boxing Chat Group? Boys Stable Central Boxing Chat Group. Big shout out for you. Thank you, Oriello. I don't know what that is, but good luck with it. Big shout out for them. Rem says, I have a cheap Les Paul replica and am failing to learn guitar. Oh, learning's the fun part, mate. Learning's the fun part. Les Paul, yeah, replica. Well, a real Les Paul costs you hundreds and hundreds, of course, maybe even a few thousand. Owen Foster, Gareth A. Davies is either the evil brother of James May or the long-lost relative of Jimmy Savile, or maybe the love child of both. Who knows? Owen Foster, Big John Fisher is a casual. I'd like to see John Fisher and John Fury get into it. Battle of the Big Johns. Either John Fury would knock Big John Fisher out, or Big John Fisher would eat Big John Fury, and not in a good way. Big Chief, Ram, guitar is a hard instrument to learn. It's awkward and it can hurt a bit, but you'll get there. Keep going. Yeah, Big Chief's right. Look, when you learn guitar, you're using muscles in your fingers that you've never used before, ever. So the first month or two, you're like, how the fuck am I going to do this? I'm never going to learn this. That's because your fingers are getting strong. But once your muscles in the fingers get strong, you'll fly. I mean, I made more progress probably in in 1 month after my fingers got strong than I did in 6 months previously. It's like being in bed for 6 months. You get up and try to walk, your legs don't work because the muscles have shriveled. So you've got to get them fingers nice and, you know, get them to the gym. But yeah, keep going, mate. Keep going. Right, what else we got? Owen Foster, the hardest puncher of the heavyweights of the 70s was Ernie Shavers for a single punch wallop. Yep, I agree with that. Single punch, though, yeah, definitely. Yeah, one of the biggest punches ever in any division, I think, probably. Stuart, Naz had good power. Nigel Benn was a banger, the haymaker, etc. True. Owen Foster. We'll never know who the hardest pound for pound puncher is. It depends on who your favourites are. Yeah. Owen Foster, Marciano had a bad rap for no reason for me. He was crude but effective, trained like a warhorse, and although he beat up older guys, they were still world level. Yeah, you can only beat what's in your damn, era. You can't beat people who are not in your era. But you can look good doing it, and Marciano looked great doing it. Vladimir Klitschko looked dull doing it, and not always. Well, I mean, he won his fights clearly, but no. Those were the dark dark ages of the heavyweight division in my lifetime. Was the Klitschko era. He's good at what he did, but did I want to watch it? No. Stuart says, pound for pound, Pacquiao. What, hardest puncher, mate? He hit hard. Big Chief, Golovkin, sort of power that hurts. Yeah, Golovkin could hit hard. Hurts fighters even when they block the shot, and a powerful left jab, almost like a power punch itself. Very good point, Big Chief. Very good point. Owen Foster, Golovkin punch technique was beautiful. Yes, it was. Owen, it was. That left hook driven into your skull with the knuckle. Oh yeah, he sort of turned it into a hybrid overhand left, didn't he? Yeah, very hard puncher. Pacquiao almost decapitated Hatton, says Stuart. Yes, he did. Hatton wouldn't have known about it because he was asleep. Lone Wolf Boxing, £10. Thank you, sir. Oh dear, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. How do you view GGG's career? I like his personality, enjoy his style, but his resume is quite thin for the potential he had. Yeah, not entirely his fault, but still. Yeah, well, again, we get back to you can only beat what's in your era. I mean, I think Golovkin would have given any middleweight in history a good row. I'm not saying he would have beaten them all, but of course, he actually wasn't that big a middleweight. He wasn't that big for a middleweight. He made 160. I mean, what was he, in his late 30s when he knocked it on the head, or 40 when he fought Canelo for the third time? They weren't that big, but I do rate him highly. But the resume, yeah, I take your point, Lone Wolf. Yeah, I do, mate. I do. Thank you for the tenor as well. Owen Foster, one brutal beating was Pacquiao versus David Diaz. Yes, yeah, I remember that. He gave a lot of people a hellacious beating. Do you remember him against Lelolo Ledweber, or whatever his name was, the South African fella? Hard to believe, but Pacquiao was actually an underdog in that fight. Right. The Tavern says drugs help with that fight. What are you talking about, Pacquiao and Diaz? Rem says Golovkin was a victim of a bad decision, unfortunately. In his prime, he was an elite fighter. I think so. Yeah, I think so. All right, this has gone for a Burton again. Got to find out where I was again. Big up Joe Stunner, says Spartan Will 15. Big up yourself, Spartan Will. Thank you very much. Jazzy Jab. Joe, you're making your debut ring walk. What is your ring walk song? I'll have Dead on Time by Queen. That or Give Me the Prize. Dead on Time, yeah, by Queen. That's a good song. I would have, this is going to sound really pretentious, but I don't give a fuck because it's a brilliant piece of music. Go over to YouTube and search Wayward Sisters by Klaus Nomi. Klaus Nomi, Nomi, Wayward Sisters is the piece of music. That would be my ring walk. Bruce Gass, Valero. Yes, Edwin Valero. You're quite right, Bruce. That was the guy I was trying to think of. Long Life 77. What's good, Joe? It's all good here, mate. Hope it's good with you. Bruce says, Joe, I'm older than you. Well, a year or two, mate. A year or two. Matty Howard. Joe doing a nice live, nice one, Joe. Yep, thank you, Matty. Great to have you here, mate. Rem. The day passes so fast, feels like it's still morning, but it's 10:40. What's time now? 11:15 at the moment. We'll go for a while longer. Jazzy Jabs, the Till Stewart Misfit fight is a sweaty calamity. I'll have a look at it later. Matty Howard, ordinary Harris gold medalist. How is a miracle? Well, yeah, it wasn't a great field, was it? But I tell you what, British boxing, amateur-wise, fed off that gold medal that Audley won, and he did a lot of good things for British boxing. He really did, especially the amateur scene. Stuart said, I was gutted when Harrison beat Williams. Yeah, Danny Williams, yeah. Well, he knocked him out, didn't he? I was surprised. I was really surprised. I thought it would be a close fight at least. Peter Johnston, hello, Joe. What do you think of the current state of the middleweight division? It's not the best, is it, mate? Yeah, that's not great, is it? I think that's probably why Hamza Shearer stuck around when he was weight drained, and Eubank is probably sticking around as well. You know what I mean? But yeah, there have been better eras, haven't there? Someone should just unify it, and then at least they can say, "Well, I beat all the people in my era." Jazzy says, "Why have there been total silence around Opataya versus Ramirez fight?" Yeah, good question. Opataya's got one coming up, hasn't he? But I want to see that fight, and I think you need to build a legacy in cruiserweight's one of those divisions where it still remains relatively unfashionable, even though there have been some very good cruiserweights. So to build a legacy, you've got to become undisputed, or at the very least do what Hay did, which is unify belts. So Opataya versus Ramirez, I'd say would be a given. Aaron Linton Chambers. Hi, Joe. What are your thoughts on Turkey saying we would need a black heavyweight champion? It seems pretty bizarre for him to say that, given that boxing is a sport where the best man or women wins. If he said that, someone else mentioned this to me, that he said that. It's a stupid comment to make. I don't see what ethnicity he's got to do with anything. Why would he said it? Did he give a reason? It's just a dumb thing to say. Yeah, it's nonsense, really. James Law, Fisher versus Allen on Eurovision or Eurovision. Yeah, I'll go with Fisher versus Allen. Go on, we'll push the boat out. Yeah, Eurovision. I used to watch Eurovision with my nan when I was a nipper. I remember judging them really seriously. Like I remember Denmark once on Eurovision. Big geezer, about 6'8", came on, hippie with an acoustic guitar, starts mumbling away. My nan watched it without saying a word, and then at the end, she said, "Nah." I said, "Why did you like that, Nan?" "Too tall," she said. Too tall. Nah. He was tall. He was fucking tall, though, in fairness to her. Rem says, I think that was out of context. I don't know what he's talking about. You're having a little private conversation here. Oh, you're talking about Turkey's comments. Yeah. Rem says it was taken out of context. He was trying to say like the era of the 80s with Ali, etc. You could tell Ali wasn't around in the 80s, but you could tell he didn't mean it that way. Okay, I don't know. I haven't heard the quote. I haven't heard him say it. Was he interviewed and he said it? Because don't forget, English ain't his first language, so maybe we have to cut Turkey some slack. Jazzy says, is Eurovision on, James? Best song I've heard from that shit show in decades was Spaceman by Sam Ryder, in my humble onion. Spaceman by Sam Ryder. I know a song called Spaceman. Was that the one I'm thinking of? That crazy sort of electronic thing. Sound like it was speeded up. I don't know. Tushin rants, I am the ghost of Timmy Turner. Timmy Turner is back. Tushin rants is back. Heed my words. Come on in, Tushin, and tell us all about Timmy Turner. God bless you, sir. You might want to put down the Ouija board first of all. Stuart, I think Dubois beats him next. Old man Usyk has had his day. Ooh, them's fighting words, Stuart. Them's fighting word. Matty says old man Usyk will win by knockout. All right. Nathan, who are some of your favourite current boxers? Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, my top three, and they are pound for pound my top three as well. I like favorite. Let me choose some favorite ones rather than the best. Favorite ones. Nakatani, I like a lot. Junto Nakatani. Nick Ball's a lot of fun, isn't he? Opetaya's great to watch. I mean, he is very, very good. Very great to watch as well. Very exciting. Gabriela Fundora, I really like her a lot. She's brilliant. Beatrice Ferreira, she's very good. Katie and Serrano have got their third fight coming up. I like them both. Getting back to the fellas. I like a few of the up and comers. I like George Liddard. I think he's pretty good. Atama is an obvious choice. I think he's extremely good. I like watching him. He's got that spite about him, you know. Fabio Wardley, not a great technician, but he's got some niceness about him. I like watching him. I mean, there are so many. To be honest with you, I mean, I don't know about you, Nathan, or any of you guys, but it's the game I like. I just love boxing. I'm not really. I do have my favourite fighters. Like I loved watching Nigel Benn when I was young, and Tommy Hearns was another one from when I was, 12, 13. I started watching Tommy Hearns, paying attention. I thought, fucking hell, this guy's brilliant. So I have got boxing heroes, I suppose you'd call them, but I really just love boxing in general, and I just want the best man to win. Roy Jones Jr. was fucking unbelievable. Probably the greatest fighter of my lifetime that I've ever seen, although it must be said we should not forgive him for failing a drug test. You have to be consistent about these things. If you are opposed to PEDs, and rather sadly, Roy did fail a drugs test. Same day as, I think it was when he fought Richard Hall, and if I remember rightly, Richard Hall failed a drugs test as well. I could have that wrong. I suppose it evened out, didn't it, in the end? Every dog has its day. Dubai is a dog fighter, and if he lands proper, it's lights out, says Stuart. Could be. You never know. You never know. Easy to remember 9,000. Floyd Duck Khan, sort of. He kind of did. I mean, I'm not saying he was scared of him, but maybe he had concerns about the speed. I'm serious. Nathan, Shaq Thompson, Tyler Denny, Ezra Taylor, Lewis Edmondson, both been ordered. Good fights. Yeah, watch those. Yeah. Jazzy Jabs, the narrative that the likes of Carl Froch spews about Fury Joshua being a mismatch is Fury's favour is just weird to me. I may edge towards Fury, but that's it really. I'd pick Fury, but you just never know with AJ. He might turn up, and now the pressure's off him. He's been flattened. Everyone thinks he's crap, which he never was crap. He's not crap now. He's still got that big punch, and if he gets his head together, he might be able to do some damage. And if he can avoid being clocked, you just don't know. Heavyweights, isn't it? I mean, big lumps. Mally Howard, if any heavyweight lands properly, it's over for any heavyweight. It's landing that shot is the problem. Precisely, Matty. Yeah, my sentiments exactly. Pierre Olivier Dallaire. Very grand name, Pierre Olivier. Boots versus Virgil. Who you got? Boots. Boots in that one. Matty Howard, who's at the Copper Box tomorrow? Yeah, who is at the Copper Box tomorrow? I'm going to have a look. Hang on. Got my boxing news over. It's tomorrow. 7th, 8th. Right. So obviously we've got Fisher versus Dave Allen, but we got Kieran Conway, Jerome Warburton. That'd be all right. British and Commonwealth middleweight. George Liddard, who I just mentioned a moment ago. Jimmy Sains, yeah, he's a good little up and comer. John Hedges versus Nathan Corliss. That might be all right. Yeah. Corliss is only once beaten. But George Liddard and Aaron Sutton. Once beaten. Might have the wrong guy. Jimmy Sains and Gideon Onyanani. If I've seen him, I can't remember. That's the ones that are written down anyway. There's probably some undercard young up and comers as well. Jazzy says, I saw Joshua talking to Coogan. He alluded to Miller pulling out of the Wardley fight for different reasons other than shoulder injury. I saw that as well. Was he shit stirring? Yeah. Well, he might be shit stirring, but I think we all thought that, didn't we? Yeah. Matty asked, is anyone going to the Copper Box? Yeah, are any of you going? Adari Pennant says, there is a lot much more better quality of heavyweights now than the Klitschko eras. Absolutely true, mate. Absolutely true. Nathan, thoughts on Josh Taylor, Echo Esima next week? Like I said earlier, I think Echo I think he's a live underdog. I think he could spring an upset. It's a new weight in it for Taylor, but I don't know. You do hear rumours about Taylor liking a drink as well, don't you? I don't know. I shouldn't say that, should I? Got to make Taylor I'll make Taylor a favourite, but only sort of 60, 40, 65, 35. It would not surprise me if Echo won. I'm not saying he will, I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. Stuart, Usyk has been in decline since the first AJ fight, whereas Dubois has learned to close the distance and use his head. I think Dubois is better than the mentally, emotionally, psychologically much better, apart from any technical skills. But it's all a question of has Usyk declined, like Stuart is suggesting. We'll see. Pierre Olivier Dallaire, what do you think of Jared Miller? you mean Jarrell Miller? Old, yeah. No, not a lot, mate. Not Mr. The PED enthusiast. Matty Howard, Usyk is an amazing boxer. He's nowhere near finished yet. I do agree. Maybe slightly in his decline, but not finished, not by a long shot. Nathan, Nathaniel Collins versus Lee McGregor should be decent. Yes. That is a good one, yeah. See, I like Lee McGregor, but he kind of hit a bump in the road, didn't he? Nathaniel Collins. I might favour Collins, you know. It's a good one, though. It's one of those ones you wouldn't necessarily put money on, is it? Matty Howard just giving his opinion. That's fair enough, mate. Stuart, fighting bigger guys takes its toll, Stuart is saying. Usyk will be feeling it. That is true. Yeah. Rem, what are your thoughts on Shakur Zapata? Shakur on points. I think it will be relatively wide. 116, 112, 117, 113. Yeah. There were rumours about Zapata as well, if you know what I mean. No, I think Shakur wins it. Nathan, do you have any favourite unheralded fighters, guys who are underrated? Underrated. None that really spring to mind. No, not really. I mean, I think there are certain guys who held world titles who are probably better than they're remembered for. Like I mentioned, Jesse James Lehar previously, who I thought was a very good fighter, he's got a couple of wins over Azuma Nelson, I think, as well, and a draw. They had 4 fights. He got 2 wins, 1 draw, and 1 defeat. He was stopped, though, in the defeat. But he was a good little fighter. Underrated. I mean, if you go way back, history is full of them because people have just forgotten the names. I mean, especially when the colour bar was up and the black fighters had to win the coloured title, which was very often more legitimate than the real title because the real talent was the black fighters, and so I mean, I'm amazed when someone says to me, "Oh yeah, I love boxing. I love boxing." You ever heard of Sam Langford? No. You ever heard of Benny Leonard? No. I've heard of Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, what about Benny Leonard? You ever heard of Willie Pep? I mean, these are great, great fighters, and they're obvious names as well if you know the history of the sport. But a lot of people are missing out because they're not paying attention to the history, and it's really interesting. But there isn't. I mean, there is. I mean, there's footage of Sam Langford, for example. Unbelievable fighter, fucking unbelievable. Jimmy Wild, who was basically a strawweight fighting guys who were real featherweights. And I've heard several people say, well, the quality of the opposition wasn't great. Did he ever beat a Hall of Famer? No. But if you're that small fighting guys who are that big, unless they're absolute shite, I don't know. And the longevity of the guy as well. I mean, 99 knockouts in 101 wins or something like that. I can't remember the exact figure. Yesterday was the birthday of Keizai Galaxy. Have any of you heard of Keizai Galaxy? He was one of the Galaxy brothers. Keikor was the other Galaxy brother. Go and look him up. It's how do you spell it out? Khoasi, maybe. Galaxy, as in milk chocolate galaxy. Look him up. Go on BoxRec. Look at his record. No one remembers him. He's a fucking brilliant fighter, magnificent fighter. What else we got? Just going through the ones I've already read. Here we go. Jazzy Jabs. I always dreamt of seeing Queen live at Wembley '86. I always dreamt of watching Ali Fraser 3 since I was a kid. Well, I saw Queen in 1982 at Milton Keynes. That was the only time I saw them. So I've seen Queen. Fantasy fights. What? Yeah, I mean, Ali Fraser 3. You mentioned that definitely. I'll tell you what I'd like to have seen is Ray Robinson against Randolph Turpin. Was it Earl's Court when Turpin beat Robinson? Fucking hell! Imagine that. Yeah. Oh god, there were too many, mate. I could mention dozens and dozens of fights. The ones I've mentioned earlier, like being at the first Aaron Pryor, Alexis Arguello fight. Fucking hell, I'd taken the second one. That was brilliant enough, but the first one was unbelievable. There are so many. Yeah. Matty says you can't have many fights and not affect you the way you did. Yeah, that's Stuart and Matty are having a little debate about Usyk. Jazzy says no more mortgage talk, man. Yeah, sorry, mate. Have I hit a delicate spot there for you? Rem says I think the aura of fighters really works, like when an seemingly invincible guy gets stopped or made to look human, they aren't ever as effective anymore. Well, Rem, I've mentioned this before, haven't I? About how following the Mike Tyson losing to Buster Douglas, I went to bed, and when I woke up, the first thing I thought was, did I dream that? Because it was so unbelievable. I had to go check. Yeah, but that you are never quite the same. George Foreman was another one. Sonny Liston, when he lost to Ali, it was a huge upset. Foreman losing to Ali was a colossal upset. Yeah, even something like Nigel Benn losing to Michael Watson, that was a massive shock at the time. The late Colin Hart predicted the right round. He said Watson would stop Benn in 6, and he did. It took some doing. What have we got? Hit the like button, says Matty. It helps me out. Yes, it does. Thank you, Matty, for that. The Tavern. Hagler was the man in the 80s. Yes, I loved Marvin. Marvin Hagler was a fucking immense fighter. Absolutely immense. What else we got? Oh, I'm getting cramp in my legs. Bruce Gass. Tyson cleaned out the heavyweight division by beating 3 world champions and the lineal champ. What more could he do in the 80s? I agree completely, Bruce. Yeah. Yeah. He did. And they weren't bums. They weren't bums. They may have looked like bums when Tyson got hold of them, but they were good fighters. Stuart. Hagler was my favourite from that era. Yeah. You're not alone. The Tavern. Bruce Gass is the GOAT. Yes, you are, mate. We love Bruce. Go give Bruce a fucking sub. Come on, man. Man deserves it. Does some great lives. Robert Hutchins. Ottoman puts them all up to sleep. Great bits as always, Joe. Keep them up, mate. Yeah. Robert Hutchins is referring to me struggling to build my Ottoman bed. And then he got trapped in a bloody thing. It's like when you try and put that duvet cover on. You ever tried that and you end up inside the fucking duvet cover and the duvet's fucked off over the other side of the room? There's an art to doing it. It's not one I've mastered. Let's just bear with me a second. Canada's Boxing Channel. Do we have any worries about Usyk getting a fair shake of the cards? Interesting question from Bob, Canada's Boxing Channel. That is a good question, Bob. Yes, I wonder. The Tavern, Bruce Gass, Iron Mike at his peak powers could be any fighter, and it could be any fighter, any era. Yeah, could beat them. Wouldn't say would, but the Tavern says that he could beat. Because people forget how great Iron Mike Tyson was. 87, 88, extraordinary fighter. Bruce says, maybe Chad, but I think Marciano's strength would bust up Tyson's arms in the peekaboo defense. I don't know, Bruce. I think Marciano might be a bit small, even for Tyson. Tyson was what, 215? Marciano, 188. Bit of a difference. But again, determination and toughness goes a long way. Tim Sheeran, I'm from Australia, mate. I originally thought no chance for Justice Hooney, but I'm starting to slightly change my mind after the press conference. Do you know, mate, I was at work. I didn't see the press conference. But look, I think Justice is a good heavyweight. I'm not quite as high on him as a lot of you and your compatriots are, but in my opinion, it's a great matchup, Justice Hooney and Fabio Wardley. And it's one of those fights where even if one guy loses, if he puts up a good performance, his stock will rise. Two undefeated guys going at it. You know, it doesn't. If you give everything, you know, you if it's a close competitive fight and there's knockdowns and, you know, you can rise. You can both rise up. And it's not the end for Justice Hooney if he was to leave, to lose. What is he, 25, 26, 25? I mean, let me give you the perfect example of someone who lost and his stock actually rose and is remembered in history as great, even though he was knocked out in only 3 rounds. Thomas Hearns. You can't talk about the fight with Marvin Hagler without being in awe of Hearns' participation in that fight, even though he ended up getting knocked out in 3 rounds. You know, you put two people colliding together, you get greatness. You get greatness. Rem says, worst robbery I've seen is on GBM's show. A journeyman won every single round against a prospect, and Steve Gray, if I recall, gave it to the prospect. Then Adam Smith on comms acted as if it was close. Yeah, I've seen that happen. Do you remember Campbell Hatton against the Spanish lad? Young Spanish lad? And the Spanish lad won every round, and whoever was the referee gave it to Campbell Hatton. Complete bullshit result. Yeah. Nathan, Lewis Ritson over Miguel Vasquez was a very bad decision. Yes, it was. That was awful. Awful. Tyron McKenna and Mohamed Mamouni. Yeah. He won the return, didn't he, Mamouni? Yeah, knocked him out, knocked McKenna out. Yeah, that was a bad result. Those were Ritson, no shape or form did he beat Vasquez. Vasquez got robbed a few times. And Kiko Martinez against Zelfa Barrett as well. That was a bad one, if we're talking recent years. Scorecard, says Stuart, is a dodgy way to decide it. It's open to manipulation, what you can do. Yeah, true. Been that way for ages, mate, for decades and decades. Matty Howard, Mark Tibbs will have Fisher on song for tomorrow. Can't wait for the show. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Mark Tibbs is a good trainer. You would think Fisher, even if he was to lose, it wouldn't be because he's poorly prepared. You'd think Mark Tibbs would get him in shape, definitely. But then he learned from his old man, didn't he, Mark Tibbs? And his old man was extremely good trainer. This fucking thing. Fucking bastard things jumped again. Fucking hell, man. Why does this keep jumping? And then I lose my place in the fucking chat. Bear with me, gentlemen and ladies, if there are any ladies in the building. Let's have a look. Matty said, I recommend the scorecards are shown on a big screen after every round. That would stop the judges cheating. Yes, but it would take a lot of the suspense out of it. I don't like open scoring for that reason. I mean, boxing is, after all, entertainment. And I take your point, Matty, but not for me, mate. No. Simon Bird, Fury versus Fisher. Big John battle. I can't stand John Fury, but John Fisher looks as if he could keel over from a heart attack, tying his shoes. Yeah, Simon, you're right, mate. He's heading for an early grave. Or should we say a not too distant future grave. Big John Fury to win by default. Yeah, the other guy keels over. Hopefully he doesn't land on him. Or hopefully he does land on him, maybe. Rem, the way people talk about the Klitschko's era makes it sound as if it was like World War II or something. It seems to provoke horrible memories. With good cause, Rem. With good cause, mate. Jazzy Jabs, 6120 Black Lemon Gretsch. Is that what you've got in the attic? What the fuck's that doing in the attic? That's an expensive guitar. That's worth a few grand, mate. And I don't know how old it is, but you want to check on that. You might be sitting on a small fortune. I'm not even joking. That's a good guitar, mate. 6120. I'll give you 20 quid for it, mate. I'll tell you what, I'd like to see a picture of it. Matty Howard, what a lot of people don't know, Stuart, is that judges are sat at 3 different sides of the ring and are not allowed to confer with each other. That's true. Jazzy says, my advice is to learn heavy stringed acoustic guitar. Then when you pick up a Lecky one, figure it is. Yes, you're absolutely true. I used to teach guitar and I learned on an acoustic. It was a Spanish acoustic, not a big chunky one, but you've got nylon strings and they're way more. There's way more distance between them and the fretboard on an acoustic. So you have to press down harder, and it's agony to start with. For the first month, it's agony. But when you master it or get good at it, shall we say, and then you pick up an electric's a piece of piss. You play that like your fingers are running a marathon. No, you're absolutely right, Jazzy. Absolutely right. Let's have a look. Rem says, there's an incredible fight on Misfits between Darren Till and Darren Stewart just now. Surprisingly good. Ty Mitchell, ex-pro, made his return also. Okay. Jazzy says, Rem, are you messing? It was horrible. I'll have to go and have a look. Make me own mind up. Nathan says, Cattrall is supposedly fighting Harlem Eubank. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, they're finalising that. Rem, I think it was very entertaining. I wasn't expecting much, and it delivered, especially them knockdowns. Okay. Joe, what do you reckon versus Shakur versus Zepeda? Rabbiting on us. Yeah, like I said before, mate, Shakur all day long. Comfortable decision. Matty Howard. What's he talking about? Catterall's Catterall is levels above Harlem Eubanks. You would think so, but Catterall is I mean, he really blew it against Barboza. Should have won that fight. Julia, joined 15 minutes ago and only just caught up with where you are. Good to see you live again. What do you think of the shape of Dave Allen? Came in at a few people have said it don't matter because he's a plodder anyway, but you've got to be in shape, surely. So I don't know, Julia. What did you think? It's his heaviest weight, isn't it? I don't like to see any fighter out of shape. I really don't. Rem says Harlem Eubank will lose on points. Not been impressed. I haven't really, mate. Yeah, point sounds right. Adari Pennant, they should just get rid of the cruiserweight division because majority of them are heavyweights and light heavyweights. No, I don't know, mate. I don't know. Not in the era of these giant heavyweights. Nah. I mean, I even think you could make a case for a super cruiserweight division, which is what the Bridgerweight division is supposed to be. Now that we're getting to the point where, you've got to be as good as Usyk to compete if you're a 220 guy. And even then, he's not knocking people out, is he? He's fighting these gigantic men. I don't know. I would keep the cruiserweight division, certainly. But I do think with the Bridgerweight division, they fucked up because of the weight difference. The weights are weird. I would say go from 200 pounds to 215. That sort of stone of weight. What is this now? Jazzy says, just checked out that Wayward Sisters track, Joe, and I think your fantasy opponent would crap in their shorts. Intense. It's an intense piece of music, mate. Yeah. Matty Howard, Harlem can only have 10 or so fights. I might be wrong, but I can't remember him having more than that. I think he'd had a few more, but it's not that many. Yeah. Matty says Catterall's world level. Yes, when he wants to be. Yeah. Nathan says Harlem is 20-0. Is it that much? You might be right, mate. I can't remember. Harlem's been fighting on Channel 5, hasn't he? Because I've seen a few of his fights on Channel 5. But it's a slow burn in career. Yeah. Boxing Monkey, good morning from Laos. Is that where you're at? Wow. Thank you. Welcome, Boxing Monkey. Long-time subscriber. Very welcome. Tushin Rant says, heed my words. Good old Tushin. Love it. All right. Easy to remember 9,000. Jamal Charlo is fighting at the end of the month. Should be interesting. We'll see what he's got left, if indeed anything. Boxing Monkey, have you seen the Led Zeppelin film? It's brilliant. No, I haven't seen it. Isn't that quite an old film, if it's the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, it's brilliant. I'll check it out. I've still got to watch what Lee said yesterday. We were having a chat about music documentaries, and he said the one on Suede's really good. I used to like Suede in the early 90s. Brilliant band. Saw them live. They were very good. Rem says, be quiet, Timmy Turner. Indeed. James Law. Never seen him in a Sprout costume with such conviction. What is that about? You got me on that one, James. Stuart, Ball is entertaining to watch. Always plenty of action. Yeah, Nick Ball's good laugh, isn't he? Good fighter. Kill or be killed. So far, he's done all the killing. Nathan, you're right. He had 21 fights. Oh, he's had 21 fights, has he, Harlem Eubank? That surprises me as well, Matty. Yeah. Jazzy Jabs, Babylon Zoo, Spaceman. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. That was from 1993. Yeah, Babylon Zoo. I remember that. You bought that was the first single you bought with your pocket money. First single I ever bought, 1974. Sparks. This town ain't big enough for the both of us, and it's still my favourite all-time song. I love Sparks. I'm seeing them next month. They're in, Ron's in his 80s and Russell's in his late 70s, but they're still fucking great. Nathan, fighters who randomly disappeared whilst coming up. Ahmet Patterson always comes to mind. He was supposed to fight Liam Williams, got attacked in the build-up. All right. There was a guy called what was his name? Jamel Hinton? He was a Kronk fighter, and I think he became a Muslim and retired undefeated, and he could have had a great career. I think he had about 15 fights and was undefeated, and then he found religion and quit boxing. He was good. Philip Singh says, Joe, big fan. Did Dave weigh in the same weight as the last fight? He looks so. But no, he was heavier, mate. Half a stone heavier. Yeah. We've been debating whether he had a bit of a belly on him and whether it's going to do him some bad stuff. I think Johnny Fisher wins tomorrow, at least on points. Maybe late stoppage, but I'll go with points. Tushin rants, I need to go, but Joe, I am your ancestor. Tushin. I used to have a subscriber, I don't know if he's still around, Dumbledore was his name, I think. And he was always banging on about Bigfoot, about how Bigfoot was covered up. It's real, and, yeah. Takes all sorts, I suppose, doesn't it? Matty Howard, Fabio Wardley's brilliant boxer to watch live. He gets you off your seat. Great chin, very nice guy to talk to, top man. Yeah, a lot of action with Fabio. Yeah. Yeah, and he's got that spite, hasn't he? Nathan, Sam Eggington is like that. Been to several of his fights. Such a throwback fighter. 100% agree. 100% agree. I know someone who knows Sam relatively well, and he's a nice guy out the ring as well. Rem says, I think I need to appreciate this last year of boxing more. I've never been so excited in my life. Just amazing fights, excluding Times Square. Yeah, and that Canelo card as well. That was shite. But you're right, mate. It's been a good year. Stuart says, Caballero's been good to watch recently. Makhmudov, Sanchez, and Big Bang Zhang. Yeah, they're all worth a look. Bruce Gass says, Bochuk versus Fox tomorrow. Oh, Michael Fox, Mykal, is that his name? Yeah, I think Bochuk gets him, mate. Pretty good 154 pro. Number 3 in the world. Yeah. Yeah, I think he wins that. Bochuk wins that. Bob, thoughts on Hamza versus Belanga? Yeah, good matchup. Calculated gamble for Hamza as a debut at 168, but I don't see why he can't beat Belanga. But Belanga hits hard. He had a one-round blowout, didn't he, since the Canelo loss? But Hamza's coming off a draw at 160. I've got a feeling Hamza might win. Yeah. I have to have a think, though. See, I think Hamza was just dead at the 160 weight. And he says he injured his hand in that fight with... I mean, he might have done it. I don't know. I mean, he looked crap, didn't he? Whatever the case was. But at 168, he might have all his energy back. I don't know. And Belanga can certainly be outboxed and can be hit. And Hamza himself hits pretty hard. I don't know. It's a toss a coin, isn't it? But I certainly give Hamza a good chance of scoring what would probably be an upset in the eyes of most South Americans and North American fans. Matty Howard, Sam Eggington is a warrior. He leaves it all in the ring. Bruiser of a boxer. Yes, he is. He is, mate. Incredible amount of fight of the years he's been involved in. Boxing Monkey, what's been the better decade for boxing? 80s, 90s, or 2000s? 80s was great for, I would say, thinking about it, 80s, I'd go going from featherweight to welterweight, maybe light middleweight. I'd say 80s was great. 90s, good 90s era was good with the heavyweights. 2000s, I'd say, was the weaker of those 3 decades. Best decade of all. Probably the 80s, because there's a lot of the lower weights where they had some Like, I mean, I'm thinking of, like Bruce Gass is one person who'll remember these guys, Bobby Chacon and Bazooka Limon, Boza Edwards. They fought each other 4 times, and you had some great lighter weight fighters in the 80s. Then you had, Ray Leonard came through, you had Tommy Hearns, you had Hagler was around. I gotta go with the 80s. Matty Howard, John Hedges is fighting on the card, Joe. Do you remember me talking about him? Yes, but I don't remember what you said. John Hedges. I've seen him. Refresh my memory, Matty. Nathan, Egginton's a good example of records don't matter. 100%, mate. 100%. Matty Howard, he's lost about 10 fights, still a great fighter. Yeah, I think he's got 9 defeats, Sam has, but a couple of those were questionable decisions. Rem, talking of the same but slightly different vein as Eggington, Baluta. Yannick Baluta, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's been causing upsets. Yeah. He lost to the bloke who's been busted for PEDs. Young fighter. That should be called no contest, in my opinion. Queensbury fighter been busted for PEDs. What's his fucking name? Oh, it's terrible. You get older, you forget these fucking names. It's just terrible. Saying that, says Matty, Chisora's lost 14, if I'm correct. Still gives us all in the round. I think it's 13 he's lost. Had a great win last time, yeah. Bruce says, I can hardly talk boxing with anyone younger than 50. Unfortunately, mate, Bruce, I'm 57. I say unfortunately because, yeah, but I know what you're saying, mate. I know what you're saying. How about the big fights that never turn out like we were hoping for, like Floyd Manny? Yeah. Yeah, but that was way past its sell-by date, Bruce, wasn't it? I mean, that was... I never bought into that thing. What about when Hunnigan beat Curry? Oh, that was an immense upset. Yeah. I mean, John H. Stracey beating old man Tequila. That was a big enough upset. But Hunnigan beating Curry. Okay, now. Yeah, I remember that happening. I was like, what the fuck? Because Curry had just chopped up Colin Jones, who was a really hard bastard Welsh fighter. He'd give him a cut on the nose, and Colin retired. But when Jose Napoli lost to Stracey, that was considered a massive upset too. The two biggest welterweight upsets involving British fighters. Matty Howard, 2 legends of the game. Bruce Manny, I rate as the greatest. Manny's the greatest southpaw of all time. Do you know what, Matty? I got to say this. Pacquiao, as great as he was, I can't get out of my head that he must have been taking something he shouldn't have been doing. Just looking at his physique, the way he was chiseled, the way he went through the weights and became faster and physically stronger, it smacked of something going on, mate. Same with Manuel Marquez. Same with Holyfield. I just shouldn't say this, should I? Because I'm always the one that says, well, you need proof, but... Stuart, how many elite champions would lose to Buster Douglas in their prime? Mike was overrated. No, I don't think he was overrated. Well, let's not forget that Buster Douglas, when he was on song, was an extremely good heavyweight. So much so that Mickey Duff said that if he was looking after Mike Tyson, he'd avoid Buster Douglas. Yeah. Rem says, Kaiser Galaxy, fighter you were talking about, had 1 loss. It's to another guy called Galaxy. Is it really? I know he only had the 1 loss, but he's got about 41 wins, didn't he? And about 25 of them were world title fights. Yeah. He's a great fighter. Great fighter. Curry was unbeaten pound for pound at the time, says Matty. Well, Hagler was on the scene. They were talking about Curry jumping up 2 weights to fight Hagler. Rob Marr. Oh, what the fuck has happened now? This fucking thing popped again. Fucking thing. Anyways. Colin Hart, Rob Marr says, Colin Hart predicted a huge underdog alley to dethrone Foreman. Yes, he did. He did. Absolutely true. I thoroughly enjoyed Hart on comms when Douglas upset Tyson. He'll be missed. Yes, indeed. Indeed, he will. Matty Howard, I think he changed trainers just before the fight. What, with Douglas? Douglas. What was the fight before the Douglas fight? Was it Carl Williams? He'd already changed trainers, I think, Matty. Tyson, if you're talking about. Rem says, Richardson Hitchens, Cambosa's card revealed. Looks solid. Nice to see Nishant Dev back. Okay. I haven't seen the card, mate. I know Cambosa's versus Hitchens isn't that far away, is it? Was it a month? Stuart says, I remember hearing Mike Tyson saying how he cheated the drug test straight from his own mouth. Yes, but a lot of those were recreational, Stuart. A lot of them weren't peds. Well, he may have been taking peds, I don't know, but he was a weed smoker and everything. Yeah, but yeah, it's nothing new. All that ped stuff's nothing new. Matty says, R.I.P. Colin Hart, indeed. Jazzy says, yes, Stuart, it was rife. It was rife. Yeah, you're right, Jazzy. It was, yeah. I met Mike Tyson when he came over here to promote the Bruno fight, says Matty. What was he like, Matty? Tyson, when you met him? Because he's hot and cold, isn't he, to put it mildly. Rem, Joe, we need another boxing history video. Love them. All right. Pick a fighter, and I'll see what I can do. Pick a fighter. Psyop gives me £2. Thank you, Psyop. Do you like Gad? I love Gad. He's the comedy gift that keeps on giving. Actually, Gareth, all joking aside, mate, when you listen to him, when you get past the sort of desperation to be cool that is Gareth with his big old vintage Kawasaki motorbike and his, tinted shades and all the rest of it. Well, shades are tinted, but you know what I mean? Or are they purple or pink or something? When he talks about boxing, he cuts the bullshit. He actually does know what he's watching. I was talking to Leah Inside the Distance about it. We've talked about this many times, and Dean as well, who was on here earlier. And he does know his stuff. Bob as well. Bob from Canada Boxing. If you listen to what Gareth says when he's talking boxing, when he's not aware of the camera, he actually does make some pertinent points. It's just he's so easy to take the piss out of because he's such a big pudding. But it's my absolute dream to have Gareth on this channel with me taking the piss out of him and him there. And we're riffing off each other. That'd be fucking brilliant. That's so funny. Matty Howard, the Hitman Hearns is my all-time favourite. Yeah, one of mine too, mate. He wasn't a stunning fighter. That right hand, the most frightening knockout I've ever seen is Hearns. That laser-like right hand, right cross, flattens Roberto Duran. And I know Hearns is much bigger than Duran. But no one did that to Roberto Duran before or after. Leveled him. Absolutely leveled him. The greatest 3 rounds of boxing history, Hearns versus Hagler. Well, the first round, certainly. The second and third rounds were good. But I think it's the first round that gives that fight its legendary status. Because if you look at things like Tony Zale and Rocky Graziano, they had 3 fights. And I think only one of them, a film of only one of them remains. But if you read the reports of the others, they were just as hellacious. There were hundreds and hundreds of great fights. Boxing Monkey, what's your favourite fighter's ring name? Mine is Big Mama Jamma. Oh, Big Mama Jamma was the cruiserweight, wasn't it? The British guy from the 90s, early 90s. Oh, no, he's the Bad Mama Jamma, wasn't he? Was it the same one? Oh. Ghost with a Hammer in his hand was Jimmy Wilde, the Tylerstown Terror. My all-time favourite nickname is the Explosive Thin Man, which was Alexis Arguello. I've mentioned him a few times in this. So he's an underrated champ. Brilliant, brilliant fighter, but people don't remember him enough. Great fighter, Alexis Arguello. Am I right in saying he was? No, no, because he went for the fourth belt against Aaron Pryor and got found out. But he was a three-weight world champ. Beat Jim Watt in Scotland as well on points. Jim Watt, that's another very good champion. Jim Watt. And talking of Scottish lightweights, I mean, Ken Buchanan, incredible fighter. Ismail Laguna, who Buchanan beat twice, he was a brilliant lightweight fighter. Lionel Rose, Australian. You want to talk Australian fighters? Lionel Rose was a great fighter. Jeff Fennick was great. Yeah. Okay, what have we got now? Dogs Discussions. Okay. Glad to see your channel growing. Amazing. Thank you, Dogs Discussions. Yeah, I'm glad to see it growing. What are we on? 6,000 something subscribers? It's good. Rem says, Joe, what's your favourite food? Well, I'm vegetarian, so I like sweet and sour vegetables and stuff like that. Fake meat. It's all right. Apart from that, pickled onion monster munch. Food of the gods. Rob Marr, I don't get how Dave Allen is allegedly better prepared this time, yet he's heavier. He's got a protruding gut. Coming in heavier really helps. I agree, Rob. Yeah, I agree. Rem says, I think Dave Allen wants to be known as the guy who could have been great if he trained, because he's scared that if he trains well and loses, he will realise he isn't that good. Oh, a bit of an amateur psychologist is our Rem. But yeah, you might be right. There is that element. They talk about, daring to be great. And I think that's what's kind of meant by it, really. Dare you to be great. Dare you to, actually put your neck on the chopping block. Do you know what I mean? Does the room still have the enthusiasm for the Fury versus Joshua fight? Matty, no, mate, I haven't. I don't know about you. But again, it could still be a good fight. You just don't know. And Richard V or Richard the Fifth says, no, AJ looked terrible against Dubois. Yeah, I need to see AJ win before a Fury fight. I agree, mate. Yeah, I agree. Although you could say you want to see Fury have a fight before then as well, because he's coming off 2 consecutive defeats, albeit to Usyk. Rem, Joe, I always see you talking about how bad your memory is. I'm more than half your age. I can't remember facts as good as you. Yeah, but it's names, mate. When you get old, the names that I've read about, I must have read thousands of times, mate, not just boxers, but names in general, like musicians, people, for some reason that the grey matter seizes up at the most inopportune moments. It's weird. Aging is weird. You don't realise until you get there. Then, I mean, I'm not ancient. I've still got a bit of life left in me, but I'm not as young as I used to be, and I've noticed it. It wasn't until I got to about 53, 54 that I started to physically slow up, or feel like I was slowing up, and mentally slowing up as well. It's weird fucking thing. Matty Howard, where are you, Matty? John Hedges was 3 fights into his career. I said he would be a contender for the belts. Not let me down yet, Joe. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Stuart, how good was Steve Collins? Beat old Ben and Eubank and avoided by Roy Jones. I don't think he was avoided by Roy Jones. He did beat an old Ben and Eubank, but he was the first man to beat Eubank. I think the Eubank wins are much better than the Ben wins. The Ben wins was at the end. I mean, after that shellacking with McClellan, and then he had a couple of successful defenses against B- fighters, and then he lost to Sugarboy Malinga, and then he fought Collins. I mean, Ben was clearly on the downside, but to be the first man to beat Eubank and then beat him again, I think that those are good wins. And he fought people like Mike McCallum. He lost on points. Reggie Johnson, he fought, didn't he? Steve Collins, he lost on points. He served his apprenticeship in America, then came back to Britain. and he did all right. He's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. He won belts. Didn't he stop Chris Pyatt for the WBO middleweight title as well, didn't he? So he's a two-weight belt holder. Collins versus Calzaghe would have been good. They could have fought. Yeah. Collins retired, gave the belt up, didn't he? And then Eubank and Calzaghe fought for it. Bearing in mind the fact that Calzaghe was given a tough fight by Eubank, who Collins had twice beaten, suggests that Collins versus Calzaghe would have been competitive. I think Calzaghe would have beaten Collins, though, on points. Rem says, did Ben get injured against Collins? Torn, yes, ankle injury, because he wasn't wearing proper boxing boots. He was wearing trainers, and he slipped, and there was a damaged ligament. And in the second fight, he quit on his stool. He'd had enough. Matty Howard. Nigel Benn was a great champion. He had to go to America to win the world title, and he'd done the same at super middleweight. Went to Italy twice. Yes, he did. He won the world title from the champ in his own backyard. They tried to rip him off. The Italians tried to pull a fast one, but the WBC weren't having it. They stamped on that, which was good. Stuart, Ben was a warrior. That McClellan fight, oof, yeah. Best fight I've ever seen, mate. Best fight I've ever seen. Matty Howard, he was nice. He was as nice as you could possibly imagine, Joe. He was about 50, 60 hangers on with him. Okay, man. Yeah, don't surprise me. He had a big entourage. They were all sponging off him. Owen Foster, greatest scrap I've ever seen was Gatti Ward 1. Yes, it's men who weren't the best, contender or journeyman, who put it all on the line, just pure heart. Owen, I couldn't agree more with you, mate. Absolutely 100% agree. 100% agree. I remember I was living in America at the time when I watched that fight. It was on Showtime Live. Was it Showtime Live or was it HBO? HBO Live, because it was Manny Stewart and Larry Merchant and Jim Lampley doing the commentary. And it's some of the best commentary I've ever heard. I always remember when Larry Merchant said, I think it was the final round, he said, I am humbled watching these guys, these two men. And what a beautiful way of putting it, humbled. And then Lampley said, somewhere along the line, he said, no, it wasn't Lampley, it was Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart said, you very rarely, you dream of fights like this, but you very rarely get to see them. Yeah, incredible. But then Gatti was in so many incredible fights. The two with Ivan Robinson were incredible fights. Go and watch that. If you haven't seen the Ivan Robinson Arturo Gatti fights, watch the first one. The second one was very good, but the first one, Christ almighty, that was unbelievable. Ghost of Big Tex. Homicide Hank was a good name. Why haven't we mentioned Homicide Hank during this last few hours, mate? You're absolutely right. Henry Armstrong, one of the greats. Hard hitter too. Hard hitter. He fought bigger men. I mean, he's probably if you fight within you get more knockouts, understandably, if you fight within your weight division. But Henry Armstrong was basically, he started off at featherweight, ended up getting a debatable draw at middleweight for the world title, and won 3 belts. Owen Foster, Hagler Hearns was a good scrap, but incredibly dirty. Hagler did a lot of cheating in that to rough Hearns up, which eventually paid off. Hearns also injured his right hand in the fight. He reckons he busted it on Marvin's head in the first round. Yeah. Well, Marvin, it almost came a cropper because Marvin had a cut, didn't he? So I guess he thought, I'm going to have to rough this guy up, jump all over him. I bet he wishes he did the same when he fought Leonard as well, because he was wrong tactics in that fight. Yeah. Bear with me. Owen Foster says, Hagler is one of my favourites ever at middleweight. He's up there with GGG. Yeah, great fighter. Rem says, it pains me to think there are so many fights out there not uploaded to YouTube or able to view. I'll tell you what, Rem, it's a shame that there are so many great fights that aren't even on film. That's a tragedy. You read about these fights and they're all gone. Shame. Matty Howard, I disagree, Joe. 3 rounds was unbelievable, pure action from the bell. Hagler Hearns, Matty, I'm not going to argue with him, mate. It's a great fight. I'm not debating that at all. You're right. Owen Foster, Dave Allen will do nothing tomorrow night. Just sit there for a paycheck. I smell a possible fix. I don't know about a fix, but I'll tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me if he just collected his money. He's getting about 100 grand or so, I've heard. But Stuart says, vegetarian, I couldn't live without a bacon sandwich. Few couldn't, Stuart. It takes practice, mate. Matty Howard, Hagler was a legend of a fighter. No argument, mate. No argument. Rem, I can't live without a chicken burger shops in the chicken burger shops in Bradford. I take it that's where you are in Rem, in Bradford. Are you a Yorkshireman? Or are you a Lancashire person? I'm stirring the pudding there, and I Yorkshire versus Lancashire. Owen Foster, Eubank went up to cruiserweight after the Collins fight, gave Carl Thompson. Yes, he did. Hard fights, showing he still somewhat had it. Colin wins deserve more credit. I agree, Owen. Yeah, you got a good point there, mate. A very good point. Stuart, it would be a hard knock life if you couldn't eat chopped pork or corned beef. Some of us manage it, mate. Some of us manage it. Owen Foster, Ben was pretty much finished when Collins got him. Yeah, I agree. Drained after the war with McClellan. Collins put the nail in the coffin. Yeah, and Sugar Boy Malinga as well. Eubanks and Ben were both on their way out by the time Collins fought them both. Yeah, but Eubank had stuff left. I mean, he gave the young Calzaghe a very, very good fight, and he had the 2 wars with Carl Thompson, as Owen mentioned a moment ago. So yeah. What else we got? Hagler GGG would be a fantastic fantasy matchup. Yes, and people laugh at that, but no, it would be competitive. GGG was a threat, I'm telling you, as great as Hagler was. Owen Foster, McClellan received judgment in the Ben fight, justice for the poor animals. Yeah, I know. I'm glad that Ben won, and I feel sorry for McClellan's sister for looking after him for so long. Yes, Lisa McClellan looks after her brother, who is not entirely deaf and blind, as has been reported, but he is, he's not a vegetable, but he is not in good condition. And Owen is talking about McClellan's treatment of animals, specifically dogs, because he used to enjoy dog fighting, and he used to get stray dogs and throw them to his pit bulls to chew up and kill, to keep them primed for battle, so to speak. McClellan was not a pleasant person at all. Rem says the WBC boxing tournament, which is set to continue, if I recall, is incredible. Joe, did you see the first stage? 8 hours of. I watched some of it. There was such a lot of it. This was in Riyadh, wasn't it? Yeah. I did see a lot of it. Yeah. They got some good. There were some good little fights on there. A lot of unknown fighters, but yeah, it was all right. It was all right. Matty says Hagler would have beaten GGG. I take it. Yeah, maybe. I'd have picked Hagler probably. Yeah. Owen Foster, I don't think Getty was truly world level, as he got the belts from low level contenders, beat up high level journeymen. No, I don't agree with this. But you've got to remember he got his first belt at Super Feather, which was Tracy Harris Patterson, who wasn't a bad champion. He was a pretty good fighter, and he beat him twice. So I would say Getty was a top 10, maybe at Super Feather, probably top 3. Maybe you could argue he was the top, but I don't know. I wouldn't. Yeah, but he was a lot of fun, wasn't he? Let's be honest, he was a lot of fun. Matty Howard, who's your all-time favourite boxer, Joe? I haven't got one. I mean, Nigel Benn, Thomas Hearns, Hagler, Ali, Robinson, Sam Langford. I mean, there's so many. You can go on and on and on. Willie Pep, Benny. I mentioned these before. These guys, Hank Armstrong. Yeah. Okay. What have we got there? Rem says, Joe, what time do you actually sleep? For me, recently, it's been around 2 a.m. I work full time, and then sometimes I'll go for a kip in the mid-evening, and then I'll go to bed about midnight, I suppose. Right, gentlemen, it's been emotional, but believe it or not, we've been live for 3 hours and 5 minutes. So we've gone past midnight. So I'm going to call it a day now. But thank you very, very much, all of you. And if you've given me any money, thank you so much. You're very, very, thank you very much. It's been 3 hours has flown, mate. I mean, seems more like 90 minutes. But yeah, thank you if you joined in. You left comments. I think I went through all of them. I hope I did. And again, thank you for the super chats. So enjoy your weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you. We'll do another one of these sometime. Don't worry about it. But thanks a lot. Peace out. Take care. Much love.